Welcome to Plat Chat VALORANT episode 195. We're only 5 away from the big 200, where Sliggy's going to leak his hog.
That's what you went with.
No, he's got a pet pig. He's moved to Iceland, and now he's rearing his own farm animals. That's what I meant.
Yeah,
that's true, isn't it? I've not been misled by my chat, have I?
I can't believe that's what you went with.
Starting episode off correctly.
Yeah.
Can you raise farm animals in Iceland?
Yeah. My girlfriend's dad actually has it, like regenerative farming.
I think if you could
regenerative farming, like you chop the leg off the cow and it grows back.
No, it's like so you get like the most out of your grass, I think. So it's like the cows eat it, and then I think the pigs eat it, and then like the chickens eat it. So it's kind of like going
the same
down
grass.
Yeah, so you make the most out of your grass, and you just go different patches, and it grows better after.
Okay,
it's a legit thing. Yeah.
I think if you couldn't farm in Iceland, then people wouldn't have been living in Iceland. Like, you kind of, to start a society, you need to be able to raise and rear animals.
They do have fish there.
Yeah, don't like fish though, so that doesn't work out well.
It's a lot more.
Yeah, it's literally fish and licorice here, and I don't like either, so it's not going great.
Well, thank you for joining us, Sliggy, Bren, and Achilios here for this episode. We've got double sponsorship for this episode, but for Factor and Manscaped, so we're going to talk about them more later on. But I wanted to start off by teasing what we're planning on doing next week. We were thinking about doing it this week as well, but we have kind of too much news to cover. Honestly, we might do next week as well. So at some point, we're just going to have to pack this in. But we are starting to get to the point in the year where it's time for our way too early tier list, where we did a tier list last year, if you can remember. Honestly, I look back at it. Kurt sent me the link. Avast was on the show. Like, that's how long ago it was. Where
he was on last year.
Yeah, we did a tier list of every single org. Now, we didn't do a tier list of the Chinese orgs, so we're going to have to do those this year as well. But that's like, is that like 56 organizations or something that we're going to try and fit into a single tier list?
It's going to be outrageous.
4 times 12.
Oh my god.
There he is.
There he is.
Mr. Prink was indeed on the show. And it was in the old house. And Wyatt.
By the way, just want to point out from this episode was also 5 minutes late, and Bing Tang in the chat is saying I'm blaming Sideshow, not even in the thumbnail. Like, it can't be me, bro. It can't be me. It's not my fault. So the tier list is coming at you next week, I would imagine. We still don't know all of the players on all of the rosters, which is kind of weird. So if Tyloo and Apeks could get going with those announcements, that would be great. Thank you very much. There's also next week, there's like Red Bull Homeground and Radiant Asia Global Esports show matches are going on as well. Sliggy, I think you're co-streaming some of those, aren't you?
Yeah. I think I'm going to catch the one tomorrow. I watched the first one as well. I didn't catch the one that they lost, so I probably need to watch that one back. I'm not sure they'll be happy with that, but it's honestly they're looking alright. They got some talent. But yeah, dude, this offseason, like this stretch of 2 weeks is so stacked. There's so many games on.
Yeah, it's kind of popping.
Too much Valorant. Someone in the chat asked what happened to Avast. We're not allowed to talk about the incident.
The incident.
Yeah, there was a big incident. You might know if you
I'll leak it. He's in a federal prison. He finally got way too curious. He decided to try cannibalism. The feds got him.
Yeah, he claims it was consensual. The other guy doesn't. It's a big problem. He was trying out regenerative farming. He chopped off a guy's arm and thought it would grow.
He said he wanted me to eat his ass, and I just misconstrued it.
Dude, I'm not gonna lie. I was trying to keep a straight face. The chat was bought for a second. Genuinely, they were bought, and
the incident. Somebody made my stream title yesterday like "Big Plat Chat Drama," and people were coming into the chat like, "Oh, what's the drama?" It's like I didn't even make that title. I don't have a clue. All right, I did say earlier though that this was a sponsored episode, so let's get you to one of those sponsors. It's the good people over at Factor have decided to sponsor us again. Appreciate that because it helps us keep the lights on over here as well and keep our guests paid. Not an esports stand-up. You know what? That's not one of the claims that I'm able to make about them. However,
okay,
I can
legally
tell
you can't
you,
make that claim?
Legally, I'm not allowed to make that claim because I don't have that level of insight into their farming processes. I don't think they're actually a farm-to-table kind of situation. They're more of like, they have chefs that curate the meals and then they send them to you and then they're
just say allegedly and then it's fine.
I don't think you can say allegedly in front of any claim and it'll pass the FTC, mate. That's not going to be how that works. But they listen. Basically, the way the reason that we're sponsored by Factor is that a lot of our viewers are gamers who are not looking after themselves very well, who are buying a ton of takeout and spending way too much money. And so if you're one of those people, if you're posting the court emoji in the chat right now, then you might want to consider taking a look at Factor. You can go to factormeals.com/Valorant50 to use the code Valorant50 and you get 50% off the first box and then 20% off your next month as well. They got like a range of meals. They're not one of the ones where you get sent ingredients. They just send you full meals. You throw them in. They're fresh, never frozen, full of cooked meals. And 2 minutes, heat them up, bada bing, bada boom.
All right, time to dox ourselves.
Yeah, let's post our own address in there so that you can send us things as well. So yeah,
PO box.
that's factormeals.com/Valorant50 with the code Valorant50. All right, let's get into today. We've got so much going on today. And I think we should start off with the member question. Now, if you're a member on the channel, you get to ask us a question in the members only Discord. And the one for this week, I've been given it so many times. I'm interested to hear your answers as well. It's about a potential Valorant World Cup. So the question from the members only Discord was, which country would win a Valorant World Cup if we had one? And who else would be in contention? I just kind of want to begin, though, every time someone asks me this question, because it's a super popular one, I feel like you have to make more rules than this. Because if you just said Valorant World Cup, aren't you just picking like EDG or Gen.G or something? Like,
Yeah.
So don't we need some extra rules? Does anyone want to suggest some?
It needs to be like
Probably have to do
two
yeah,
from a
sorry,
team.
yeah.
I was gonna say like 2 from a team. I think before in the past people have done like 3 for a team, but sometimes I think that's too much. I would say like it has to be 2 people can be part of the same roster.
Okay, I
Let's
like
do
that. I like that. All right, so then China's got to be up there. Because
Sure.
you'd take like a couple from EDG, a couple from
Dude,
FPX.
Apeks,
I'm
Shallow
I
Gaming.
don't think I'm
look
taking
kinda crap.
China though. If you're only limited to 2,
Okay.
but
Who are you going
I'm
for?
taking Brazil. Bro, I'm
Okay.
putting Loud back together.
Okay.
But who's calling?
honestly, I
That's the
was
problem
thinking
with
that.
Brazil. I think Brazil are
yeah.
like 5th or 6th because who calls?
Who calls?
Vinny?
Yeah.
You're gonna believe in Vinny for Loud?
I'm sure they've got him up to scratch.
We're in the off season, buddy.
Yeah.
How are you saying
Playing
that with a
no
straight
tournaments
face?
in Brazil. I'm sure they have. No, I don't know. Brazil was the first one that came to mind, but then yeah, I forgot that Sadak is Argentinian.
It's yeah, dude. I would back Korea or honestly I'd probably back Turkey. The Turkey's too cracked, man.
Turkey's
Just do
nuts.
5 duelists and just send it.
You have
Like
the foot players. I mean, you get Mr. Fallen for sure, right? Because he's just
Yeah.
been the best Turkish caller. You got Alfier, you go Rians and Woot, and then
Yeah.
your final player can even be a foot player because you only needed Mr. Fallen from foot. That's a crazy team.
Yeah.
Can you
that
give
was
us
stacked.
give us the Korea super team, Achilios, with only 2 per roster?
Well, you'd probably want Munchkin for IGL, I would say.
Yeah.
My initial reaction was to say, well, you get Stacks and Buzz from T1. You get Mako from DRX.
Yeah.
And just rebuild the 2022 roster.
You got RB from Tech.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's probably Texture Munchkin. And then you get Meteor from T1. And then you just kind of build around that is kind of what you would do.
Yeah, they got some options. They really do have some
There's
options.
a lot actually that could go through.
Yeah.
Because like if you wanted to run any kind of double duelist, you could take Buzz, but Buzz also has like a good amount of experience in playing off roles like Sentinels and whatnot. So like I think that would also be completely reasonable to have like he and Texture on the same roster. Foxy 9.
You would be.
has been
I
looking
think
good
you'd
under
be
the
allowed to put
tutelage of
Lakia in
Gen.G.
that team because Lakia is just teamless right now.
That's true. We could put him because we got to give him. He has to play. He's the Lakia of Valorant, so like we got to give him something. So at
Yes,
least he's got to play in the World Cup. So yeah, we'll put Lakia in as the 5th member.
All right, let me throw some more rosters at you because I spent some time thinking about this too.
Yeah.
All right, Chile, if you are able to put together more than just a couple from each roster, has some pretty good team with like Crew and then King as well that you can throw in there. A USA team with Zekken, Ethan, Verno, Som, Boostio is looking kind of sick. And if you only
Yeah, that's
needed 2
kinda
from a
sick.
team, you could swap out like maybe Verno for Com or something like that instead. Canada has Marder, Jonah P, Xander, EU, and Finesse, which is not a bad roster.
Yeah,
I
that's
think.
not bad.
That's
My
pretty
man's,
decent.
you missed tens.
Well, Tens is. I wasn't sure whether Tens is allowed because he's like
Pulling back
technically
from
retired.
retirement. Yeah,
We
but
would- we would
he'd
invite
do a
him
show
out.
match. Surely, yeah. I think
Yeah,
he'd
we
be,
would
he'd be back
invite
for
him out.
one.
Okay.
He doesn't have to practice for it. That's fine. Just a one-off.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well then, unlucky Xander, you're getting benched.
Jesus.
What's the vote then?
Did you have Russia on your list?
Yeah, Russia's pretty stacked.
Is
You
it?
get something in
enough.
there.
Yeah.
Why?
think
Who's
it's
the
like
roster?
Standard players.
You got Nats, Durka, right? Because that counts. I've got 2 so far. Anyone else want to?
Something.
I don't
Yeah,
know whether
Durka-
Durka.
Durka definitely counts.
Okay. All right. So then, what? We've got something.
Whoa. We've got Dryad.
They just fucking pulled the lever with a trapdoor
Please got
underneath
rid of him.
Seth and just booted him out.
I had something planned, but I didn't give Dan enough time to connect to the chat, so she's not here.
Okay. All right. Wait. So you got something. You've got
Chronicle.
Shados, Chronicle. Wait, just pick up old Gambit.
Yeah.
Something Shados,
Shao.
Chronicle, Shao,
Shao, Sugetsu.
Nats or
Sugetsu.
Sugetsu. Maybe Sugetsu.
You could
even
use Jemkin
better.
as well.
Oh, it's stacked, yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
it
I'll
is
leave
pretty
Jemkin
good.
actually.
It'd be
Thank you,
good.
but no, thank you. I'll take
I
something
mean, I
instead.
take Jemkin over some of the people named there.
No, you're
I mean,
crazy.
because there's overlapping roles, you mean? Right.
No, just general.
No.
Damn, dude, just
I don't know.
I think they suck.
Would the UK stand a chance? I don't know.
No,
if
we're
they would.
shit.
No.
No.
Yeah, we've always been
Honestly,
bad.
2021, yeah. We have it.
No.
Yes.
Yeah, 2021. Yeah,
Dude,
we
we're
did.
2021,
we're
you were
dominating the
coaching
game.
the majority of the UK players.
Yeah.
That's why you think
Yeah,
they would do it.
exactly.
Did we win
It's
everything in the
legally the
first
team.
3 months? Yeah.
Oh, right. You mean literally 2020. You don't mean 2021.
No, it was 2021.
2020
was
when
out.
the game released.
Was
That's
it?
when you were farming.
Oh, okay, yeah. Go back to 2020 then. I've gone too far.
Hello,
Well,
Dryad.
Hello.
Hi, Dan.
I just
we can't
wanted
hear
to
you.
say very quickly.
I can
you
hear
guys
her.
were taking
Wait,
a little
what?
too
Really?
long to mention
It's just
Chile.
me?
Like I was just waiting. I was waiting for the moment they were saying China. They were saying Russia. They were saying the US.
We did
Canada.
5th, right?
What?
I think we mentioned it 5th.
But also, listen,
No,
I
it
mentioned
took a
Chile,
little.
but
It
I
took a
also
little
said-
too long.
I also said, though, that you can't really make a great Chilean team with the rules that Sliggy proposed, where you have to take 2 per team.
Wait,
2 per team kind of rolls Chile.
what do you mean 2 per team? Like you?
Like, max of 2 players
Yeah,
from
2
one
players
team.
per team. Dude, honestly, UK might beat them.
Okay, no, that's fine. We go tier 2. We got Dante Deus. We
Oh,
got
true, actually.
King on the other side. I think we're good.
Is
I think
Dante
we're good.
Deus allowed to play? Are we allowing that?
Yeah,
No,
World
not
Cup
yet.
is everybody.
Yeah,
you can
dude,
be like
it's a
10. You
free-for-all.
can play at the World Cup.
Yes.
Oh, we're
okay,
allowed
then-
it. We're just allowing child labor at the World Cup.
They're representing our country.
Same
What?
same
Put it
standards
like
as
that.
FIFA. Reasonable.
Are the
Well,
children
we got
building
it.
the studios?
All right, Dan.
Like we gotta boot Achilios out. He's just yapping from the background
Yeah,
talking
it's
about child labor.
I just came to complain and now I'm gone. Goodbye.
No! What the hell? What the hell? Okay. All right. Well, I guess he's back. All right. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Okay. Let's get into some of the stuff that's actually relevant to this week. Patch 9.10, 9.10 dropped, and it's huge. It's genuinely game changing. I kind of just want to go in chronological order, just like reading down the update.
On the notes, yeah.
Yeah, just down the
probably
notes
the
because
best way to do it.
there's so much stuff in here.
Yeah.
So where does it even begin? I can't recall. It's all right. That's just the
Oh,
infographic, Kurt. Just
we
keep
could-
keep
we
You
could
scrolling.
could watch the
Love
Korean
infographics.
video, Korean patch note video.
Surely there's an English one, right?
No, there isn't
No.
actually.
Is there not?
They only
showed
make them
they
for
showed the
Korea.
differences in Korea.
Wait,
for
what?
some reason, they have like a really good video. If you type in on YouTube, everybody. Not if you're watching a show on YouTube right now, don't type this because you'll leave. I almost knocked a cup of tea over. Oh my god, that was so close. Oh my god, Valorant KR patch 9.10.
Yeah, just hey guys, all go to my channel and hit the subscribe button. Actually,
You're not gonna be able to find this. I've realized.
Wait, I
It
thought
should
you.
just be on
why?
like
Because
VCT.
it only comes up.
like
I found it.
VCTKR.
I found it. I'll put it in.
Okay.
Where's my camera gone?
These kind of videos are fantastic for looking at, like, it might cause us to jump around a little bit, because one of the best things that the video is going to show is probably the movement accuracy changes, which are like way down the update if we were doing it chronologically. But I'm down to jump around.
Yeah, let's see
I'm
what the
fine
videos got.
with that.
I put it in everywhere. I put it in every chat imaginable. It's everywhere.
Got
right
it.
now.
Thank
Okay.
you. All right. Oh man, this is in Korean. You're right.
Yeah.
Up
Maybe
dukes.
you can put subtitles on.
Give it a like. Yo, but
subtitles on
you gotta
and put it on.
subscribe.
Subbing.
Now ring the bell.
You sure you subscribe?
How do I ring the bell?
Smash it.
This is
All.
showing all of our
We want
current
all.
viewers. This is what you should do to our channel as well.
Yep.
Surprise!
Surprise!
None of you did that in a Scottish accent. Tragic.
Can you do a Scottish accent?
I'm not one that Scottish people would be happy with.
Yeah.
Well, then
they'll
we
be voting for a
definitely
referendum
can't. Well, I
again,
mean, I
won't they?
certainly can't.
Okay.
You're all
Agent
massing
update.
one
You
ball.
gotta
Start
read
with
these.
Phoenix.
Yeah, Bren can read them.
Sure,
Can you
come on, Brent.
pause it?
Yeah,
I
let's
can't
let Bren do
see
it.
Once. Oh,
Oh.
God.
Oh,
Okay.
Sugar.
okay. What does it say?
I mean, they're going for everything one by one.
기본지 속 효과.
That's not English.
That doesn't help us, surely.
Yeah, I gotta fucking pass it out first. It's like I gotta say it and I gotta try and figure out what it is. Can we just watch a video?
Yeah.
We're going to have to pause it constantly then if we want to go through things actually and react to it. But I'd rather watch the video and just look at like the visuals of things.
Yeah.
This healing change, by the way, I think is going to be the biggest. It like feels the biggest when you're playing Phoenix, in my
Phoenix.
opinion.
It's such
Yeah.
a great quality of life change for Phoenix.
It allows you to scale properly as a duelist without just having to sit in your own little puddle of filth waiting to heal back up.
Yeah. So for people that don't know, basically, you normally had to stand in the wall, but now you can just touch it once, or even the molly that's on the floor, and it will heal you for the. It's for as long as the ability's up, right? Like the wall, basically.
Yeah, I think it's just full
Yeah,
duration heal as if you were stood in it fully. Like
Yeah, so
previously.
Yeah.
So if you're sending it in, you could like have the wall start a little bit on your side. It could cover somewhere, so then you like if you've taken chip damage, you tap it, you get the regen as you're running in. So
And
Yeah,
now the
it's
wall
kind of
also
like
goes through walls. So
yeah,
it kind of works like Harbor Wall now as well. So there's more places that you could interact with it too, in like the middle of a fight or as you scale.
I
and
think the
your
changes for this with Pearl like kind of coming back in and
I
Jing
got
still being there. I'm
I got
like,
trolled
oh,
a little
boy.
bit. I got trolled a little bit playing Phoenix yesterday though, thinking that the wall was longer.
Yeah.
Because when you don't put it through walls, when you're just doing it in the world like it was previously, it extends like almost further because it's not being blocked by anything and you're not really curling it as much, that kind of thing. When you start putting it through walls and stuff, you feel like it should be able to reach a longer distance, and then you peek out and you're like, oh, I've left a massive hole in that. And now I'm dead.
Yeah. I think it
So I
might
guess
be
I'm
bugged
getting
low
used to it.
key because me and Alice were messing around in like a custom game when the patch dropped with Phoenix, and we noticed that like different elevation and stuff, the wall was shorter.
Mm.
Like it just cut it off. Like if there's a slope, if it goes over a slope, it was odd. It was bizarre. There's like instances where it gets cut off short.
Yeah, that might be something to do with how
Where you're
walls are
looking.
generated in the game, because
Yeah.
Viper does actually work a bit like that weirdly as well. Like if you aim at certain heights, you get different distance on your Viper wall too. But it's so marginal with Viper that it doesn't actually matter.
Yeah.
And they changed it so the signature is now the flash as well, right? And so you start off with a flash, and that's big. That is definitely big as well. The starting off with one flash as well kind of opens the gateway of it being the only flasher on the team, which means you can kind of run double duelist. And I think the Phoenix is busted with this. It gets nerfed. It's too good for ranked.
It's too good.
It's too good for ranked, and then it will get played in pro play.
What I'd like to see them do in the future with Phoenix is make the flash a bit more dodgeable. Because I think that's the biggest thing that I hate doing when I'm playing against a Phoenix, is that it's the only flash in the game that feels genuinely undodgeable. When I get hit with other flashes, I'm like, I am an old man and I am too slow. And then when I get hit by a Phoenix flash, it's like playing against neon slides. I'm like, I actually am not even supposed to be able to deal with that. And
Yeah.
that's not a human thing.
Right, especially online on ping. I have this theory that they do a lot of the testing in house on LAN, and so some abilities are like overtuned for online. That's my theory. Not that they don't play the game online on like the Riot team, like when they're developing Valorant, but I don't know. I feel like Phoenix Launcher is one of those where, like you, Josh, when you're playing with us on 100 ping, there's no chance at all. When I'm on 8 ping on Texas, I have to actively know where the Phoenix has been playing to keep it at the back of my head when I'm like scaling up like an area to keep it in my head that he could flash around this corner to dodge it. And even then, sometimes you just get fucking owned. You just get owned. You get client side. You like dodge it on your client, but because the server didn't keep up, you didn't actually dodge it and you're full blinded.
You should make it so he only gets one, and it can be regenerable, but like it can regenerate, but he has to reactivate it to send out the flash. You have to, so you could basically do a bait and throw it around the corner, and then you could maybe force people to turn, and then you swing and you don't actually pop the flash.
Oh, it doesn't det?
Wait, trying to
fake
buff an
flash.
agent. Surely we talk about nerfing the agent first before we talk about extra
something that
buffs.
just occurred to me. I was like, I feel like that would be neat to watch, like high-end players play around it.
I mean, yeah, I agree. But they also hate making the skill cap higher in this game, so I'm not sure they're going to do that.
Yeah.
They like to make it nice and easy.
Let's keep going throughout the patch changes as well, because there's so much in this. So yeah, this is the majority of the changes to Phoenix, which I think are overall very cool. Like I'm not calling for nerfs yet. I was just, enjoying playing it in ranked, to be honest. It's nice to have an agent that has been basically useless be playable or played more often.
Yeah, it's true. They'll put the ult up by one in a bit.
The Talon zombie
in
got
like
that
4
much
months.
stronger.
The map pool that we got right now, I mean, the orbs are super easily farmable, I feel like, with the current map pool. Like, you can play Phoenix on a lot of maps.
Yeah, on the attack side mostly.
Yeah,
right?
attacks, but that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Attack side.
They did increase the ult requirement for Cypher. So Cypher's gone from a 6 charge ult to a 7 charge ult, which I think was necessary. Cypher ult was super powerful. On attack sides, a 6 charge, especially when most of the time you're like getting it mid round as well because you got the kill. So a lot of the time when you confirm, like when you get the Cypher ult, you actually have a body right there to be able to use. It was winning rounds on the attack side a ton. So I like the fact that they've made that a bit more difficult. And they've also changed the trip feature, which is a point where I really want to watch the video because I haven't experienced this in my games yet.
It doesn't highlight until a little bit later, I think.
Like
is
half
what
a
it is,
second.
right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like half a second later before that ping comes out, so that you, as somebody who does get into the trap wire, have a little bit more time to clear it before you're revealed, and then you just get killed through like a cyber cage or a smoke.
So people are saying this doesn't really matter, but
What?
it does matter.
Those people are morons, Brent.
It might, yeah. It might
Straight up,
saying it doesn't matter.
Those people are. I would ban them.
This is you would ban them.
Yeah, I'll ban them for that. That's crazy.
Zero tolerance.
Yeah, because then you've just worked out everyone that is plat and under, and you realize that you don't have to look at their takes anyway.
But I was good because this is Plat Chat, and I'm a man of the people.
Okay, yeah, so you welcome them. I'll send them over to your stream. It's fine.
Yeah, you send them over to me. I'll gladly take them, and I'll run an ad in the process. It matters a lot for unbreakable trips because the unbreakable trips are always usually in a predictable location, and so now you can at least swing into them and pre-fire them and not immediately get lit up, which was happening in the past. If you tried to do that, I don't know if you've ever tried to play Neon on Old Sunset with no initiators that can damage that trip, but it's like you're getting your balls put in the penny press. It's like it wasn't fun at all. So I'm glad they changed it. I'm glad they're making a lot of these changes. And I actually think as well, the reason they held off on the Neon nerfs, despite everybody talking about it, is because of this change here with Cypher. Or not with Cypher, but they made changes overall with the slows and the stuns and the slides and stuff later on. Yeah, that's the primary reason. But
I will say, like, this is not that big in ranked. Like, I still think most people will get wrecked by this a little bit, and obviously as the skill level goes up, they'll be better at shooting it. But in pro play, this is giant. Like, this is giant. Like 0.5, like you're shooting your own trip there. It doesn't matter unless you're like sending it in fully, and you kind of have to 180. The teams were getting pretty good at breaking it anyway.
Yeah, the second player in is going to break the trip within half a second. I think, a lot of the time. So
pro play, this changes Cypher a lot, and kind of means that everything's open really. I mean, we could start using Killjoy again, Chamber.
Yeah,
let's get Chamber back.
I think the other thing, it's fairly minor, is that they said that they added more clarity to the minimap of like where the trips are actually set up.
They finally
fixed it.
Yeah,
They finally
you can
fixed
actually
it.
Oh. It's been a bug in the
surfaces that
game
they're attached to
for
which
like
is
4
so
years.
nice.
Since it's released.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So you can see
in the
where they're
video, but-
angled.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
so previously, you know the little
Yeah.
tripwire thing, okay? So this tripwire was supposed to work like it does right now. So the two circles are supposed to be the walls it's connected to. There's been a bug in the game for 4-5 years, which made the whole thing rotate 90 degrees, and they just decided never to fix it, and they finally
Until
done it in
now.
this patch. And
Wow.
it
Patch
also
9.10.
But it also now has a blue line that extends past the black circle that shows you exactly which walls it's connected to as well. So on the minimap, if it's like a really long trip that's longer than the icon, it will show you like exactly which points it's on. It doesn't just show you kind of a floating icon in the middle of the two
That's pretty
connected
cool.
walls. It's a
Very
good change.
nice.
Yeah, that's a nice change.
Bren mentioned the changes to Sage and Breach as well. If you stun or if you slow, these now half the distance that you can dash or slide. So people who are stuck in these previously could dash or slide out of them, and now you are
You're
stuck in
fucked.
them.
Which
Yeah.
is, dude, I will say Jet got wrecked in this. Like, there's loads of changes where they're like, Neon can no longer slide through this, and they're like, and also Jet gets absolutely fucked because you have to half dash as well.
I
Because this
think
is
it's
giant.
good.
Oh yeah, no,
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying the Jet
Right.
kind of just accidentally got wrecked a little bit as they were trying to nerf the Neon stuff.
Does it affect? I don't think it does. Does it affect like blast packing at all?
Nah, you
Like,
just
if you're
send
on
it
it and
still.
you try to jump out with the
Yeah,
blast pack.
because you're like elevated, right? It's just a
So it's
floor.
jet.
Yeah,
If
but
you, start,
you have
if you
to
try
like
and blast
updraft to
pack
that.
when you're on the floor, though, I think you get owned.
Yeah, if you tried to do like a one where you're
Yeah.
like hopping or something. Yeah, I would imagine.
Yeah. It's also I mean, I immediately thought as well of Vice because Vice also has a slow with the mollies, but apparently they're not affected by this change. It's only Sage slows.
There's also chamber slow as well with the trip.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
what I was wondering, but
Yeah.
I don't know. The thing is, I think the more I've been thinking about it, stun is the one I think that's going to have the biggest impact because actually
Yeah.
you stun onto jet lines very regularly. You don't really slow onto lines where you're expecting a jet to play that often. I mean, you would if you were defending a site and you threw a slow out and they were like trying to dash engage onto you.
Yeah,
But actually, like confirming the kill is going to happen a lot more with breach stuns or with neon stuns onto jet or neon players now. That's going to be the major impact of where you see this, I think.
yeah, I think that's fair. I think like the only time you're going to see the slow stuff is maybe like when there's low time left, and normally they could like disrespect a slow if it was down, if they've got to just like force an exec, whereas now you're just completely wrecked. Like you might just have to save. Yeah, the stun thing's big because it'll do the same when you're stunned, right? You can only get half a distance when dashing. That's big. I mean, it's the breach now in pro play again can be good. Again, Jet just gets wrecked.
Sadak was cooking with the breach KO Phoenix comp. He was
Ahead
just
of his
one
time.
patch. Yeah, he was just like 1 year too early. Bring it back out onto Carmine Corp. This is the meta for it. Add a neon in there instead. Get rid of what I can't even remember what the rest of the comp was. Get rid of the smokes agent. You don't need one of those.
No,
just run the neon
optional.
instead, and you'll be farming. What else was in here? Okay, so let's. There's
keep
got to be
playing
a
it,
thing
I
about
think.
the regen shield in here as well. Should we just keep
Yeah,
playing
it's
the?
nitty, and just keep playing it. I think just go for it. I
Yeah,
mean, Sage's
yeah.
South heal was buffed as well, which
Yeah.
actually is
It does.
yeah.
It does
30 to
50. Yeah, 50
Yeah.
instead of 30.
helps a lot. Actually, you can take one extra bullet in some fights if you're playing Sage. I've already found that it was way more useful. Deadlock stuff, I didn't really get it.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
it's just like the target dies at the
No,
end.
no, yeah. It's like, you know, when you have those bugs and it's like stuck somewhere and then the person would just come
Yeah.
out and they're like, well,
Just
that was
pop out.
the worst ult I've ever seen. That doesn't happen anymore. After like a certain time, it will kill you. And then you
Yeah.
had Sage res instead of 8 is now 7, which is actually
Just
actually
right
pretty
there in
big.
that part. Yeah.
Yeah. There's like nice little changes. I think Sage is in a pretty good spot after this. This is obviously good because it's just annoying, right? You hit your ult, but then you just get wrecked because of the bits on the map where it gets stuck.
Mhm.
So it's nice that Deadlock ult now actually confirms a kill for sure.
Dude, I mean, Sage and Phoenix getting buffed in one patch, like Jing is just the best player in the world.
Dude, it's so funny because
He's back
Paper
on
Rex,
top, baby.
Paper Rex must have been spending like the last 3 months like, how do we do traditional roles? Right, let's try a cipher. let's
See
try all of
man,
this stuff.
Son of a bitch.
And yeah, they're like, right, okay, yeah, we finally got it down. We're ready for the off-season event. And then they go, oh, by the way, is you know that Sage that you're running all the time? Yeah, pretty viable now. And the Phoenix that you want to run, well, that's busted as well. It's kind of sick. it's wasted their time. It's awesome.
What's the next one, Kurt? I think the next thing it's talking about is
Probably the
yeah,
one,
if
some of the
you
weapon
scroll it
changes,
along.
right?
The deadlock stuff is
Yeah, Deadlock's visual stuff looks a bit different. This is with the fact that it now kills instead of getting stuck. And then, yeah, Jet
Oh,
can't hover anymore.
No
Yeah.
hovering
Oh yeah,
when
you can't
detained.
float.
yeah. Not the most important. I think these changes are massive. Okay, so
Yeah.
Omen changes are some of the biggest
Hmm.
changes in the patch. I think you can no longer one way on stuff you can't stand on, and that's like the majority of stuff that Omens were using for their one ways. I mean, look at all of the broken ones, even just in this video. If you went out and looked at all of the different one ways that people were using, I mean, but that's not the proper one way on a set.
These are not
anyway,
no.
so-
These are one ways for Shaquille O'Neal. They don't know how to do these one ways properly, but that's fine.
But yeah, I mean, I was just using this video as an example. It's the world's worst example, actually, of good one ways that are being nerfed. But there's so many good one ways that have been nerfed, and it's taken away one of the biggest things that made Omen, in my opinion, and super powerful in the pro play. And they've done that before giving a chance for teams to figure out how much they want to play Astra instead. So to me, this is like a patch too early, in my opinion. Maybe this would have still been required. Maybe with 5-star Astra, we still see tons of people playing Omen, and you realize, okay, Omen's kind of a bit too good right now. But considering that Clove already they talked about it, that we had a dev on Plat Chat, and they literally said it was like, what did he say? Like 20% higher, 15% higher, something like that, win rate from Clove compared to Omen. Like a significantly higher win rate for Clove. And
For ranked.
that was for ranked, but then we're also nerfing Omen's one ways, which are like the skill.
It's
I
a
feel
skill
like
ceiling. It's a
that's
skill
some
ceiling
of
expression.
some of it is, yeah.
Yeah, like a one way, like the one ways that you learn is like map knowledge for Omen, and it's the difference between a great Omen player and a fantastic Omen player, I think.
I agree with that as well, because also some of them are like hard to hit. Like when they're like little kind of pixel ones, you got to just ever so slightly like move back
On the
or
fly as
forwards.
well?
Yeah. So it is like again, they like to make the game easier, so this is just a straight up skill thing. But this is big, and I kind of agree that maybe we could have waited a patch, but I also think that the pick rate was so high at the moment on Omen, and Omen Astra. If you look at like how Gen.G were kind of playing the off season, is very very strong.
It is good, yeah.
So I think that probably would have been like meta, and then it would have been like a little bit boring. So I do think that this is okay, but I think it's a giant hit. Like it's a giant hit to Omen right now. Everyone who doesn't play Astra right now and just plays solo Omen, it's kind of mad, really. Unless you just have like a full send comp with your Neon, but then I would still argue that the Astra util's better than the Flash. Just if you have another Flash in the comp.
I do think one ways are extremely powerful. They really are. But I also think that 2 years ago, one ways were much more powerful than they are now. People have actually figured out a lot of nice protocols for dealing with one ways over the years that have trickled down even into like decent level ranked gameplay too. Like people are smoking the bottoms of one ways so that you're able to get through them. People are double jumping through the one ways so that your feet are not exposed until you're already through the other side of it a lot. Like people are figuring out, people are like realizing where the Omen's going to play the one way from and then stunning the line like on Sunset. You don't try to barrel your way through the one way without trying to put pressure there. I think that it's not like they were overpowered. They were very powerful, but it was like a key part of the kit of what made Omen good. It feels like the developers now think Omen should be the mobility smoker, but that to me is not an identity. That's not a niche.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I was going to say that one ways are, in my opinion, one ways are a shit thing. To be honest, I don't like them in the game. I think they're and like the way that the kind of maps are made, it's just like here's a one way and we got to wait this one out, or you got to force your way through it, and then you're forcing yourself into util, and it's just like every single map plays the same thing because you're waiting for a one way and you got to use util to get through it, and it's just so fucking boring, to be honest. So I'm kind of glad that the one ways have gone to an extent, because in my opinion, it's a shit aspect of the game. So I do think this is like one of the biggest nerfs to Omen that we've probably seen. But if we're moving away from like one ways just everywhere, I think it's actually good for the game. Even though Astra would normally just do like fake stars for you to go through it, I do think that one ways are not the. I don't think it's great for the game, to be honest. And I think the big shift of this means that you really have to think about your comp more. And I think that like the options for comps are through the roof at the moment. But it should make for like the best start to a season, because I think loads of teams can I think so much stuff is viable as long as they get the neon nerf right. I think so much stuff is viable at the moment that I actually
don't
kind
think-
of like this.
You don't think people are just going to be playing Astra basically every map?
I mean, they are going to be playing Astra, but then because Astra has 5 stars and it opens up a lot, and I think that's going to be a little bit boring eventually. But I think the fact that you can be like, do you want to run it with a Viper? Do you want to run it with like Clove? You could do Omen, you could do Brimstone, have crazy like afterplant util. You could go double Duelist because the Astra is pretty strong. You could go double Sentinel, double Initiator. Like I think everything because Astra is strong is kind of like viable. That's where I'm at.
Okay. The Clove changes were not really that important. It was just like
Just differential. Like if you died when you were Clove and you were
Yeah,
smoking,
clarity
you
thing.
couldn't tell. Yeah, you couldn't tell if the enemy smoked. I loved gaslighting my team with this before the Hoarders change. Like if I would be playing Clove, I love doing fucked up smokes when my team are in clutch scenarios and I'm dead and I'm just watching. I'm like, what can I do to really like fuck up everything about this retake? And just like mess up everything for my team and everyone else involved, like enemies included. Do you know what I mean? And so I put down
Wild tower
smokes,
yourself.
and and then somebody would be like, "Clove, why the hell did you just win?" I was like, "That wasn't me. That was the other Clove. That wasn't me." And then
There's not even
they
another
couldn't
Clove
say
on the
anything.
enemy team. You're
Yeah.
just gaslighting to the
Yep,
maximum.
they couldn't say anything. No, once I did that, and they just accepted it. That shows you the extent at which people think in ranked.
Well, like 20 years later, 20 plus years later, and Shaggy's advice of say it wasn't you is just continuing to excel and be relevant.
what's the next part of this video then?
This
Is
is
this
the
talking about
moving
the
changes,
moving
or-
accuracy? Oh no,
No,
this is
this
the
is
combat
the
report. So
combat
the
report.
combat
Oh.
report now doesn't show if you like stun or flash somebody in the mid round because they were concerned that it was giving you too much information as soon as you died. I like the idea of that, but also if you use a damaging ability, like if you shoot a shock dart into a smoke, for example, and then you die, it still tells you that you did damage to somebody. So like all of the damaging stuff is still there, but the non-damaging stuff they've removed. So it feels a bit odd at the moment, but I can see where they're going with it, and I suppose it's a pretty good change overall.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Yeah, because it's like it's getting like the info where you're like, well, this stuns this many people is a bit busted. And I get what you're saying with the damage, but I still think the damage is like nice for like comms stuff. And also we'll get onto it in a little bit, but the damage agents got a little bit nerfed, like the chip damage agents anyway. So it's kind of nice for them to still have something that's like okay because of like the new shield that they added. But I don't mind the damage, but honestly, I would be so fine if they got rid of just the combat score and you see it next round. Anyway,
You'd be fine if they got rid of all damage reports upon
Yeah.
death.
yeah,
That would be an enormous change to Valorant. Like a huge change.
I think just do it, but you just hide. You just don't say like which characters receive the damage. But I don't know.
Being able to like how much damage the final player is on is so different to the way that CS plays out in Valorant. Yeah, I feel like it's kind of like hard baked into the way that people play these situations at the moment. I feel like it'd be a massive shift. Whereas this isn't. This is just like a small shift.
no, yeah, this is a small shift. I mean, it's kind of up to them what they want to do. I'm just saying I'd be in for either. I think this is definitely a better change, but I'm not against if they wanted to get rid of everything.
Yeah. The movement inaccuracy, I'm waiting for them to get to. What are they talking about here then? So this is stuns and the sliding as well. We already discussed this when we were talking about Sage stuff, but I think this is going to make a pretty big impact in terms of actually nailing down the Jet and Neon players. They changed the look inside smokes as well, so they added that same pixely stardust thing that tells you the smoke is about to dissipate on the inside, so that you don't have to guess. It was previously on the outside of smokes, that effect. And of
This is the
course,
regen shield.
let's talk about the regen shield then. They added a new shield to Valorant. It is a 25 health shield that then has 50 HP in reserve. So it's 75 health overall, but you only get to access 25 at a time. And so whenever you take some damage, it uses up 25 of that pool to regen your armor back up. And it's very quick. It's like if you take a small pause in the middle of a fight, it's going to be back up.
It's 3 seconds.
Right, 3 seconds.
Yeah,
so
I think.
You really can take some timings where you want to take a fight, you kind of wait for that extra bit of health that you might want. If you want my take on it, it seems like a unnecessary addition to the game that further devalues full armor and creates more situations where the economy is going to snowball for the winning team and give you less opportunities to break it. Because if you buy it, light armor is already broken. 120 armor, 125 armor is already exceptionally good. It's good in like 90% of scenarios. That's what we've already figured out from the NRG analyst. What was his name? Son of Mars? No, I've got his name wrong, I think.
Mars Rover.
Mars Rover, sorry, thank you. And if you buy this and you win the round, even if you've taken a little bit of chip damage, you might still have like 25 in reserve and 25. So you're being able to save even more additional money. It just...
It's a win more shield. Like you said, it just causes more snowball. We had so many, like we played a lot of the game yesterday when the patch came out. And what I noticed is you win pistol, you buy the regen shield, and then you win that because you're up against an eco. And then you might even win the bonus. And guess what? You've still got the regen shield. Because when you're taking each fight, the first time you got 50 in reserves, goes down to 25. Then by the time you're actually on like past the bonus, you've still got 25. Even if you've taken a fight and it regen once. Like just one fight per those rounds. Yeah. And so if you think about it, you don't have to rebuy armor in any of those rounds for the forwards. You're saving like 1,000 credits plus in that instance alone. And that's if you're winning. So of course you're going to be winning even more. You're going to be able to get a buy for like almost every other round after that point. I had many instances that were like that with the shield coming in. But I feel like they've introduced it because of the other changes. Because they've already added the outlaw as almost an answer to the light armor meta.
But it doesn't work. That doesn't work. Like, it only works on paper. But how many times do you actually get into a game and think, oh, I really need to buy full armor here in case they bought an outlaw? You're like, nah, fuck it. They're not going to buy an outlaw.
But that's everyone else's fault. That's everyone else's fault. That's like going into a ranked game when I'm playing judge only, and I'm just like, wow, no one's locking in like a Sova to drone me off the angle. Like, it's everyone else's fault. I'm gonna get 20 plus kills on defense. Like, if people aren't buying it, it's their own fault. The outlaw is broken. This is something that makes it stronger.
We'll put you in this scenario though, right? You're in a pro match, or you're in like a competitive ranked lobby, something like that, right? You know that your opponents can buy full armor. They all have 4.5k or whatever, right? And so are you going to buy the outlaw because there's a decent chance that you think they're going to scrimp and save and just buy the light armor instead? Like, unless you actually know that they've been doing that, it's so troll to buy outlaw.
Dependent on your positioning and your agent. Like, if I'm a chamber, I'm buying an outlaw.
Okay, yeah. If you're playing like an op agent or something like that, then maybe you can get away with it.
But I think
it's not frequent enough to put pressure on the other team to actually not just cheat and buy light armor. Unless
you use it early. It's the same thing of like when you buy like an attack op early in a game, like people are less likely to like jump peek you and stuff like that, and you're doing it and you're like setting the example early for them, and you're conditioning them to be scared of it. So like first 4 or 5 rounds, like I'm buying it and being like, dude, I'll buy this all game. Like you have to buy 4 armors. I think it's a good addition. I think I'm so fine with it. I think it makes the pistol rounds pretty cool.
Just always shoot them in the face, and then you don't even have to worry about the armor economy. Just blow their fucking face off with the outlaw, and then it's never a concern. Doesn't matter what armor type they bring in; they're just dead.
True. Well, then we might as well always buy light armor then.
Yeah, that's true.
If you're always going to shoot me in the head, I will always buy light armor.
I think they just want people to use the outlaw more, and this is like their add-in. But people don't buy that.
I'd be curious to see how this affects, like, especially like early rounds. You win like a pistol or something like that, but enemy team has like a couple different mollies. Like, you can really disrespect them with the regen because it takes the shield HP before anything else. So it's not like when you get shot with a bullet and with like normal shielding where it'll do a bit
like
to your HP bar and then but the majority to your armor. Like it always goes from the shield first. So you can potentially, like, if you're a Neon and they molly off something, you can disrespect that because you're going to get across it so quickly that you're basically not going to, like, you'll get rid of the shield and you'll basically take no damage. And then 3 seconds later, the reserve kicks in.
No, I agree. Unlike certain agents, it's a little bit scary. So, like, say that you use the instance you're using. So there's like a killjoy mod on the floor. Obviously, you just run through it. Like, I'm an ISO. I think ISO is one of the best examples. You could literally just like run through, disrespect the molly, and then pop your shield after. And then obviously you got your shield, and then your armor's going back up as well. Like, I think that certain agents are a little bit stronger with this depending on how you want to use it. But I do think you can disrespect you to a little bit with it. I mean, that's right. I think the change is good. I think you just got to think a little bit more of like how to counter it. It's like an extra aspect. It's not like there's nothing to counter this in the game. There is a direct hard counter. It's not it's not everyone's fault that no one buys the gun. In terms
When-
of that,
I really
When do we
don't
get
understand the
Blood Gulch?
logic here, because whenever you're like, are you just saying that in like a year's time, people are going to be buying the Outlaw constantly in early rounds
yeah,
and just forcing people to buy full armor the whole time?
yeah.
Do you not think that the fact that you know the other team is going to buy Outlaw is itself very punishable?
How? You're just gonna push me off? You like push me off like I got an op? That's fine. Like, what do you mean? Like,
Because
you
the
did-
Outlaw is an extremely unversatile gun compared to running a rifle for a lot of people in a lot of areas of the map.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, but then you just don't go to the areas where it's good. Like that to say that the Outlaw being able to body shot one person is not busted is crazy thinking. Like, you can use util to push me off, but it's fine. Like, if you're using certain agents and you plan yourself right and you've got a shorty as a backup or something, you can absolutely farm. Like, I don't get how it's different from like having an op or anything. You can fire 2 bullets fast, and no scoping's good.
Yeah, I mean, no scoping's pretty good as well. So basically what you're saying, though, is that there isn't a problem with light shields currently. What there is a problem with almost every single pro team undervaluing the Outlaw.
Yeah,
Because there currently is 0 pro teams doing what you're saying.
yeah.
There's
But-
like
but-
maybe one was trying to do a bit of it where they were buying it on like eco rounds and stuff, but it wasn't successful. It
It's-
wasn't played out in the stats.
It's like heavily underutilized. I would say BBL Pacific are probably the best people, and if you look at their anti-eco stats, it kind of like really cements that they're doing anti-ecos way better than any team in the world right now. So I think that teams learning from that and just buying it it's gonna. I think the increase is gonna be crazy because now you have 2 reasons to buy the Outlaw.
Mm. You do definitely have more reason to invest into buying the Outlaw, yeah. But what the thing that I dislike heavily watching the last year of gameplay as the light armor stuff has gone up more and more and more. If you're wrong, and so what you're essentially arguing is that as long as the free market takes control and people start realizing that this invisible hand is going to force them to buy the Outlaw more and more and more, as long as that fixes itself, we're all going to be fine. But if that doesn't happen, if teams don't realize, or if there's something wrong with the theory there, then we're going to get what we got a lot of last year, which is that you just get so many of these like force buy rounds with light armor. So people buying like light armor Bulldog a ton to mitigate the fact that they're, don't have to go into full ecos very often. I think that's bad for the game. I think what we witnessed last year with the like lack of like true eco rounds and how messy the economy gets and how easy it is to take a very small amount of money and buy up to the point where it's competitive against rifles. I think it's not a good thing for attack FPS like this to have so many really good light buy options. Like the line between having an eco and having a full buy becomes extremely muddy.
Yeah, but I think that's good because I think when you have ecos and you have like secured eco rounds in a game where you have ultimates as well, so you have double economy, like being able to snowball, knowing that it's like you're up against a full eco and being able to snowball your alt economy just makes it so easy. That I think that having like
that's a good
low buys that are scary, I think makes the game more entertaining.
My early thoughts on this patch, though, after playing it for a bit, what you're saying about you don't want to go back to a time when eco rounds or like half buy rounds were so potent. The running accuracy got nerfed across the board with a lot of guns, almost all the guns, apart from SMGs because they wanted to keep the SMGs like as their niche for some reason. They just wanted people to fucking break their peripherals when they're playing against someone getting running gun by a Spectre still. That shit pisses me off. Listen, if you're sniping me, that's the one way to tilt me. Is the Judge, Odin, and Spectre running gun. But they nerfed the pistols. They nerfed the pistol accuracy while moving, walking, like running, which it's a big deal to be honest. Like they've only shifted and adjusted the numbers by a smidge, but playing it feels very different. I feel like I cannot play the same with the pistol.
Is it in that video? Sorry, because that's one of the things that I really wanted to see.
So
in
towards
the video.
end, yeah, I think they go over the weapon changes in one big thing at the end, which includes the Phantom, which we didn't really speak about.
This is the weapon,
changed
the
a lot
ammo
of-
swap between the Frenzy and
Yes.
the Ghost as well.
Yeah, they added
But you've
2
noticed
bullets
it in
to
game
defense.
because I haven't played.
I've noticed it in game.
I haven't played enough to really get a feel for how different it is.
I played 14 hours of ranked yesterday.
But isn't it huge? Because doesn't it go from like running accuracy is like 2 to 3, whereas normally when they do these things they do like point something. Isn't 2
Yeah,
to 3
was it 2 to
like
3?
huge? Yeah, for like
I didn't
overall
realize it was 2 to 3. I
moving
thought it was like-
rifle accuracy.
Yeah,
And then-
it's a big change. I've noticed like across the board, trying to take fights. I'm like, man, I'm like confident I would have built them here.
look
Like
here,
pistol rounds.
Run accuracy 5 to 6, walking accuracy like 2 to 3. Like,
Yeah.
that's big.
It's a big deal.
Yeah. But this is
big
like the
deal.
best update we've ever had to the game.
It is. No, it's a good change. It takes a lot to get used to. I hard agree. I think it's a fantastic change, but it's a lot to get used to. But the big thing I was trying to like contextualize with it is that I think eco's inherently going to get weaker because pistols are weaker now. You can't abuse pistols as much like you used to, and pistols in this game I think are crazy powerful in terms of winning fights.
Did you see? I get recommended Valorant shorts occasionally, and there was a guy, I can't remember the name of it, so I can't source it unfortunately. But there's a guy that was making Valorant shorts where he was showcasing how insanely accurate prior to this patch crouch peeking with sheriffs was. So it was almost as accurate as just being stood still. They've increased that massively, by the way. So like the inaccuracy's gone up enormously in this patch. But
They didn't
previously
change
you
the
could like,
sheriff.
didn't they? They didn't change the sheriff at all.
Other than the crouching accuracy that you're talking about.
Oh, they did with the crouching accuracy?
Yeah.
Right. I thought they had, because the crouching accuracy previously, you could like crouch peek around a corner and you were almost perfectly accurate, which now they've made that. Listen, it's niche, but I found it very funny.
I think the pistol changes are cool, right? So it's like ghost bullets go down from 15 to 13. That's kind of good. People are spamming it. A little bit more inaccurate when you're moving. That's also good. Frenzy goes up to 15. I'm yet to kind of see if that's good because I'm still kind of worried about the run and gun at the moment. Like the run and gun does kind of worry me because they didn't change like the Stinger and the Spectre, right? So in theory, those guns are like, especially Stingers. Like Stinger just kind of silently really got a big buff from all the other guns being a little bit inactive. So maybe we see that like the Stingers and the SMGs are a little bit unbalanced and people can like run and gun, and you actually have duelists that aren't buying rifles and are kind of just absolutely sending it into these certain areas of the pathings, right, to just start swinging with Stingers. That could be interesting. But overall, like making it where you have like rifle v rifles, you have to actually stand still when we're not just getting the bullshit shots where you're like moving slightly. It's so good for the game. So I like this.
I'll take
and do
run
pistol
and gun
yeah.
SMGs though over
okay.
fucking wall spraying with Odins and Ares. Just
Yeah, true.
I would much rather die to somebody who is like at least willing to sprint into my face than somebody who just held down M1 at a wall at the start of a round.
I was playing with a dude. You've just reminded me of this guy I found. I was like solo queuing, and they were like actually certified. They're playing the game as they intended, not how Valorant was intended, not how the devs were intended, as they intended. They played Brimstone on every map. They had lineups for every possible spot,
so
every part spot, and they only used the Ares and the Odin. And
Dude.
pistol rounds. Here's what they would do: they would only buy a shorty and nothing else as Brim, because then they would want to buy. Because they would only have one smoke, and they would just use the smoke to try and get a kill to shorty. So they would have 500 credits that would overlap into the next round, so they can buy an Odin as soon as possible. And I played with him twice. I queued into him twice, like back-to-back games. He was on my team both times. The amount of hate this guy got was unbelievable. He streams on Twitch. I think his name was like Stick Spree. Wow. And he was streaming on Twitch at the same time, but he didn't comm. He only used the in-game voice comms, the in-game character voice comms. He only used the Odin and Ares. He plays so inoptimally, but he's like Ascendant Elo because people tilt so easily, and I would as well. But the amount of hate, dude, it was five enemy teams immediately, round 5, saying the most heinous shit that they can that pushes the limit of the auto chat ban feature, where it's subtle enough where they don't get auto banned. Like, dude, I'm telling you, this guy, it's like a winning strategy because of how it's like psychological warfare that he's inflicting on these people.
It's always, for whatever reason, the Brim players, because I think I've spoken about it on Plat Chat before, but there's this guy that I queued into a couple times when I was 5 stacking, and we played against him, and it wasn't quite as tilting. It was tilting at first, but then we just always knew where he was going to be. But it was a Korean Brim player just named Ion Bucky, and he would just caterpillar smoke a site, and he would just be in one of the 3 smokes with a fucking Ion Bucky every single round past like the bonus. And eventually it hit a point where it's just like,
is he live?
He's like right now, it's just a bot.
It's pretty funny.
Look at the concentration on his face at the lineup.
Look at this. Just watch
Lineups coming down.
Molly's coming in. Dude, look at his
He's got the
background.
fire behind him.
Yeah, he is on top of
Just
it.
3 dead people on the spike.
What
That's in
That's
ascendant. That's in ascendant.
He's got brimliners for Abyss. I mean,
Oh.
just it's ludicrous shit, man. It's actually ludicrous.
That's
That is
crazy.
so silly.
Oh,
Overall, W or L patch?
W.
W.
I think big W actually.
Yeah. I think so as well. They're just ever so slightly just nerfing like duelists and because everyone has to have the distance close. The distance close in this game is crazy, like dashing, sliding, and stuff like that. Any kind of nerf that we get to that's great. Inaccuracy of guns moving, that's incredible. Sage buff is good. Phoenix buff, maybe a little bit too much, but still good. I haven't seen it. And, like everything's good, really. Apart from maybe the Omen, people would argue like
Maybe
skill-wise.
heavy-handed on Phoenix and Omen, but everything else seems pretty good.
Yeah.
We actually didn't even talk about the Phantom changes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
so you
didn't.
can't
Oh,
you can't
yeah.
124, and now previously they divided it at 15 meters and then 30 meters. So at 15 meters it started doing 140, and then at 30
Yeah,
meters it was doing
here's the
124. There we go. So now it's just got 2 divisions, and anything from 20 meters on is a 140. So that actually means that 140s are going to be less common. I know that seems a bit counterintuitive, but because you're now getting an extra 5 meters on your range to 156 somebody. And then anything after that is a 140. So it's a pretty big buff, really.
Do you think people were already using the Phantom a lot on LAN? It's just online where it doesn't really work because you want to abuse Pika's advantage. So you want the Vandal. You want to be swinging and one-tapping where you're barely on the screen. But on LAN, a lot of pro players were using Phantom still, even this year.
It was
Do you
actually
think that
going
this-
down quite a bit. There was a
Really?
guy there's a guy that compiles the data on Twitter of like
That
Phantom and
surprises me.
Vandal usage. There was a shit ton of Vandal
Is
usage.
it just because the map pool was so big?
I don't really know. I think a
Like,
lot
in
of it
terms
comes
of,
down
like,
to personal preference stuff
long-
as well.
Yeah,
And
long
also, if you,
sidelines?
when we had the double smokes meta, tons of people started going towards the Phantom. And now that we've kind of drifted away from that a bit last year, I think people were starting to go back to Vandal a bit. I think a lot of it at the end of the day is just people vibing. I don't think there's a lot of like good data behind what pushes people in one direction or another, frankly. I think a lot of it just goes down to like what you feel most comfortable playing with.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think the Phantom must be better now, though. Like, you know, when people would be like, like, Vandal's better, Phantom's better. I'm pretty sure the Phantom must be better now.
I would imagine so.
Yeah, I would imagine so. I haven't tried
Probably
it.
like very few niche cases where you would say that it's not.
It's also
Yeah.
still more accurate than the Vandal first bullet accuracy is.
Is it
It's only,
actually?
it's only a small difference, but it always has been.
Dude, I might need to swap. I'm not gonna lie. Dude, the gun changes have messed me up. They messed me up proper trying to play. Which that's the reason I don't know. The patch is good. I can accept that. My brain says it's good. Every fiber of my body says, "Fuck." Like I don't know. It's weird. Maybe it's all in my head. Maybe it's
a lot to try to get used to because you've been playing the game for so long under certain
just like
conditions, and then
you
there's
take a
a lot
fight
that's
in like inherently you understand that like I don't know your brain tells you the way you take the fight is like, oh, I'm winning this. I've won this fight already. I'm moving on to the next thing, and then like, oh, actually my bullets are completely missed, and I'm like, oh, okay, wait a second. I don't know.
I think I like they nerfed the classic as well, right? So I think pistol rounds and stuff are going to be pretty interesting.
Running classic right click not usable anymore.
And jumping, right? They made it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think those kind of changes are good, dude. I'm
Certain-
in for it. I also think the best thing to like harp on about here is the fact that how early this is. Like, if we get Neon nerf that is in theory in 2 weeks, it could be next week, but I think it's the week after. Like, if that's then the last cutoff of like big updates, and it's only like bug fixes and small things, then teams have like a whole month and a bit to practice, and that's really, really cool.
Yeah, better than
Because
the
last time it was
Sky nerfs,
2
right?
weeks, yeah. So like doing this patch timing here, and like we always criticize Riot and stuff, but doing this early, that this is like the best thing ever. Like, as long as they don't do anything too big, and the Neon nerf is good, like next season kickoff, like the first start off tournament should be unbelievable. Like, it's set up to be unbelievable just because teams have so much time. We can see some awesome stuff, and they can do some crazy stuff.
and they're all pretty much
May-
upgraded as well.
Maybe
Yeah.
I'm nitpicking a bit, but I'd like to see them give a little more time than even they are right now. I do agree with you, Sliggy, but I'd like to see this kind of timing be the final one before the season begins. Because if the season is beginning, you also have to factor in that an enormous amount of people are going to be taking time off over the
Christmas.
Christmas
Yeah.
period. That is, let's say it's even only a 1 week break or something. That cuts down your 4 weeks to 3, like that kind of thing. I mean, maybe they'll push out the Neon patch a little earlier than we're anticipating, and it won't make too much difference. But I'd like to see them even edge just a slight bit more with that in mind.
Yeah, I think that's fair. But
Just don't
honestly,
take off for Christmas.
yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's playing Christmas
Prime through
Day.
the holiday.
I mean, plenty of
Oh.
people won't be, right? It's not like
And
everybody.
what did you
in
want
the
for
Valorant world
Christmas? A
celebrates
Champions Trophy. Well, you're not going to fucking get one because you took a break.
I think, I mean, honestly, they probably didn't plan for it though, right? I think they probably planned for this to be the last one, and
Yeah.
then they didn't realize they messed up really with
Yeah.
Neon. So I think they probably were going for like what you said, that this is like the last one now in theory, but they're gonna tweak. They also said they're gonna change Harbor a little bit, so I don't know if that's coming as well. We'll see.
I did want to move on, but I just had a final thought as well. There are actually quite a few pros who use a very different style of like heavily movement based shooting. I'm thinking about people like Zeppa, people like Zelsis. Leaf does it a little bit as well, where they're incorporating quite a lot of like run and gun, strafing, phantom, what we might refer to as abusing into their game as well. Do you think this patch specifically hits that style of play? Because those are the players that I would expect to get most affected by this kind of stuff.
Yeah, a little bit. But all those 3 can use a stinger, so they'll be right.
Yeah, there are other players that play that kind of style too, but those.
But no, I
first
think
3
you're
that came
right.
to mind.
I think like the accuracy of like when they felt like they could move and like start moving or stop moving, I think is you got to try and get used to it.
You know, I just think this stat is so funny. I compiled everybody's like headshot, leg shot, and body shot percentage for champs just because I like looking at stats and seeing if there's anything funny that comes out of it. Zelsis by far and away had the lowest headshot percentage at LAN, and he had the highest leg shot percentage by a long way as well. Because the brother is just brother is straight running around spamming smokes whilst running very frequently to do chip damage. It's not because he can't aim; it's because he like does that style of like pressuring through smokes a lot. But I assume that won't be as viable anymore. That like extra pressure that he was putting on.
Either that, or if he's aiming for the legs, it'll just start hitting their heads and be fine.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. We mentioned earlier on that we had 2 sponsors for this episode, so we're gonna go into second sponsor alert.
Holy moly, money.
Unprecedented.
I love
actually
money.
almost unprecedented. And then, of course, after that, we're going to be talking about game changes as well. But first off, the second sponsor for our episode is manscaped.com. Okay. Now, Manscaped normally make really excellent products for shaving your balls, right? That's really what they do. Now, it's a little bit awkward to gift somebody that, even though it's the holiday period coming up. But Manscaped want us to showcase this product that they've just released, which is a shaver instead for your face. Now, Manscaped do genuinely make, this is not just because they sponsor our episodes frequently, but they have really high quality products. I mean, I've gotten them for free quite a lot because we've had like Manscaped sponsorships frequently. They're very, very good quality. And this is also another very good quality product as well. It's also packaged very beautifully if you wanted to get it as a gift. If you're wondering, what the hell do I get my dad? No, I don't want to get him a ball shaver. That's kind of weird for my dad. Well, this one is a very reasonable product to try to go for. This is the Manscaped Chairman Pro Electric Foil Shaver. And it's, they say it's like Rudolph for your face, guiding you to a smooth, irritation-free shave. Do I think that analogy has been overcooked? Yeah, way overcooked, man. I think that one got burnt. They should never have gone with that. But it's got not one but 2 interchangeable skin-safe blade heads. Manscaped is very, very good at creating stuff that doesn't nick you while you're shaving and minimizes razor burn, irritation, that kind of stuff. It's also got 2 settings, so you can get a super smooth shave, or you can get one with more stubble as well. So it doesn't just have one setting if you prefer a little bit more stubble with the trimmer too. And it's also got some like extra features, like it's waterproof, so you can very easily clean it, that kind of thing. And like I said, it's beautifully packaged. It would make a very good gift. Or if you're wanting to buy something like this yourself, go for it. I seriously would recommend their products, especially if you're looking for stuff for yourself downstairs as well. Though this is not the right product for you, but getting their normal Manscaped stuff is very good. they work perfectly, and I've never sliced my cock off yet. So that's the best endorsement you can possibly get, in my opinion. So you can get the Chairman Pro today.
God, if they put that on the website.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you can quote me on that.
Cock off yet?
You can absolutely quote me on that. I've never sliced my cock off
How
yet.
do we know when you've never revealed your hog yet?
True. You'll have to wait until episode 200, and then I'll show you my uncut
reveal.
Thanks, man.
All right, well, go to get the Chairman Pro today. Experience a shave that's as smooth as you deserve. You get 20% off and free shipping with the code VALOChat20 at manscaped.com. 20% off, free shipping, code VALOChat20 at manscaped.com. All right.
And now for the live demonstration, the moustache.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say, how does it handle eyebrows? You have one there. You know, I have pretty thick eyebrows. Do you want to give a demonstration to see how seamlessly it can get through eyebrows, Josh?
It's not a chance.
I'm going to go with no. I fear that there are few things in this world that would cause me to get an instant divorce, but that would be one of them.
You managed to do it once before.
I
So maybe you could
did
get
shave
away
my
with it.
eyebrows off. And
Yeah,
the thing is, too,
that's devious shit right there.
it was so cheap. Like I didn't even put the price high
You
enough
look like
for
a
this.
completely
Wait, how much did you do it
fucking
for?
different person here.
I did it for 2,000 subs on Twitch when I only had what is it, 50-50 split. So I think I should have charged more, frankly, because
You
it
probably should have
actually
charged more.
it ruined my appearance for months.
Yeah,
Didn't you
how
have to visit
how long did it
B's
take?
family?
Yeah, I had to go and meet her parents for the first time.
No, you didn't.
Yeah, looking like that.
That's incredible.
And they let you. They gave their blessing.
Yeah, they did. I mean, what can I say? I've got that Randall
Army.
Riz. Is that his name? Randall? I can't remember.
Yeah,
Randall
it
the
is.
I think
Snitch.
so.
Are we sending Achilios through the death chair again?
Yeah. Any
Yeah.
last words?
Buy Factor meals and Manscaped products.
Thank you.
That's not going to save you, you little shill.
Um,
Chung.
Hello.
Hello, Dryad. How you doing?
Can I just say you guys have some great sponsor? I think MasterCard sponsor is coming next. I think that's
I
just
hope
next in the
so.
line.
That'd be
That's
cool.
next
a-
in the line.
Dude, that's a white label one. But we'd be making a big buzz, I think, at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you got what is the name? Mans? Dude, I was dying
Mans?
listening to this.
Manscaped.
I was dying.
Not-
Great
not a-
sponsors, yeah.
Not a product you're familiar with?
No, not really. Actually,
I mean, there's no problem with it. Let's get on talking about Game Changers Championship, shall we? I haven't watched the entire tournament, but I watched the last few games of Shopify Rebellion, and oh my god, this team is good. Oh, they are good.
Yeah.
And then
Yes.
listening to like your interview with Effie's Slicky and talking about like how much work they've put in, they went on a flawless run, and like their setups they're really impressive. They're looking better than a lot of tier 1 teams prep when they head into big tournaments. A lot of these like attacking protocols and defensive setups. I was liking what I was watching.
Yeah, they were insanely drilled. So yeah, Effie's came on my stream after, and he was saying that an average like week for them, that they kind of took summer off so that they could like prep really heavy for this. Took a little bit of time off and then just full sent it. So they were doing like 80 to 90 hours. I think it was Sarah did like 37 ranked games in like one stint
Oh
or
my
something.
God.
Yeah, like it was getting crazy out there. So they just put in a lot of hours, and you could tell with how drilled they look. It was incredible. Like even just every little micro play they were doing to just play off each other and like enable.
yeah.
It was awesome.
They kind of joked about it in the post match interview about like how they actually just play the game and nothing else. But they've been talking about it for a long time about how it's just they want to be known for the hard work that they've been putting, and I feel like that's something that shows early in the year, like the second split when they were playing against FlyQuest, they were kind of struggling a little bit. And then you can see the work that they put, and that's more than you can say about many teams, like you were saying, like in tier 1, even tier 2. When you see the strategies, the level of depth that they have for what they want to do and how they want to play the game, it's really impressive.
Every single map of this finals, I was just watching and you could see the preparation difference. I thought. I mean, obviously they had the double map ban advantage, I suppose, but But still, like the supportive util and also just their protocols and the fact that I think the biggest tell of a team putting in a lot of time on a map is if they're alternating their Sentinel setup and maneuvering people around in the right ways, so they don't have gaps in the defensive protocols. And it's really tough on a map like Pearl. It's so wide, and you have all these avenues. Sometimes stuff just goes missing. Sometimes in the chaos of like a round, stuff will go missing. But they had a firm grasp of most of the map in terms of control of it, and a firm grasp of like ideas that they wanted to do to set up Florescent pretty often with their util. It was dead impressive. I think it definitely shows the hard work that you were saying, Dan.
Yeah. The I actually thought map 1 and then like map 2 attack side were some pretty perfect Valorant in terms of like how they were playing the setups and stuff. It was almost immaculate. And the defense side of Sunset and a few wobbles on Haven, I think, maybe just maybe a bit of nerves coming through there. But I felt like they were getting a little overzealous on some of their defense sides when they were running the Neon more than the Jet Op kind of stuff. But it was, I mean, the fact that they went on a perfect run, they get the back-to-back trophy lift. Same player as MVP in both, and outperforms her own record from the year before as well. A lot, yeah. It's a crazy accomplishment for the core.
Especially when you're looking at the fact that it's game changers and game changers in NA, but I think in general, the teams are always changing. The players are always leaving, coming back, new players, and they're always trying different things. So I think what is the most impressive is the fact that they did this with the same roster, same team, everything looking the same in a scene that is kind of always forcing you to change. So they decided to stay together after winning that first trophy first year, and they proved that they were better. I feel like the competition in Game Changers got so much better this year internationally, and then yeah, they were still undefeated, they were still good, they were still I mean better than ever.
Yeah, and I think it's like when you win, a lot of teams like get a little bit complacent. But I honestly think like Mel maybe not being there and having COVID like the year before, and not actually being able to like proper enjoy it as like a team. I think that kind of helped them a little bit as well, like motivating for them to like do it properly essentially this year as well, because they only just got better. And yeah, dude, some of the support util, like I think Sarah had an incredible final. Like an incredible final. If you look at the impact that Sarah was having, like server-wise, like I know everyone's speaking, let's talk about Floor, because it's like Floor was incredible. But I really do feel like when you watch this final back and you just look at the impact Sarah was having, it was insane. Probably like one of the best I've like seen her play. So yeah, it's just a step up from everyone, really.
I also really like the way that they were using the breach util. I know that it kind of forces Alexis to play in a very supportive manner. But on Sunset, you saw her constantly holding the stuns for people on the attack side as they work their way into positions. That reminded me a lot of some of the protocols that EG used to run last year. And then on this map too, if you could actually go to round 10 after we watch a bit of the like react happening here, the synergy between Alexis and Floor is really lovely. This was one of the rounds that I thought they played best on their defensive Haven, which was looking a little shakier than well, certainly than Pearl. But round 10, they have already used their stun earlier on in the round. They get a kill over towards B, and then the rest of the players are flooding over towards A into Florescent. And Alexis pulls off a stun to allow Floor to get a 2K that was just like immaculately well done. The synergy around the map. So they're like the early round, and then if you skip forward 30 seconds here, Kurt, they're trying to go into B. Mel gets a pick. They're back over towards A, and Alexis is ready to throw out a stun to support Flora's, who's pushed up over towards A long again. It's very, very nice coordination, and it's the kind of thing that, yeah, you're talking about with the hard work and like them all being on the same page. It's a really solid team effort.
Yeah,
and they always talk about it. They mention how it is because you ask them, I mean, you're still so good. How are you still so good? And they're like, yeah, I mean, the team is amazing, but also the synergy that we have because we've been working together for so long, that helps with plays like this. And they all, I mean, it just, you look at a couple of these rounds and you see how these plays and the synergy between like, you know, Floor and Alexis, that's not something that's easy to do. And for a lot of that, it takes time, and they've had that time to do so.
Yeah, no, I agree. It was awesome to watch because it was just like even just like their pre-plans, and I think that's like a big thing when I'm watching Game Changers. Like if because me and Minnie were co-streaming it a lot, and we're like looking, especially when I was like looking at G2 and MiBR, it's like normally right now like they should be fighting for orbs, and like sometimes you don't see it, but when I was watching Shopify, it was like every single time it was like either fight for orbs or like the enemy has like a breach ult, so maybe they should be going proactive on defense. Like the original calls from Mel, because I know that Floor was doing a lot of like shot calling and like mid rounding as well. Apparently Effie's was saying, but like the original calls from Mel was always just like spot on. It is like, this is what's going on in this round.
Yeah.
And we need to do something. And it's always just like crazy decisive. And like the reactions from like losing map control was good as well. It was like, it was some of the highest level. It was the highest level I've seen at Game Changers. Like no doubt.
Yeah. This made me want more, like another international event for Game Changers, providing the scheduling
Yes.
worked out for it. Because one of the biggest problems right now of Riot's handling of Game Changers, I think is, and I think a lot of people would agree with it, it's just the scheduling makes it much harder for the goal of Game Changers being it's a safe space for non-binary women to compete in a space where they're not going to get, you know, just whatever unnecessary criticized, or like it's a particularly harsh environment for them to compete in, and you're meant to facilitate like cross pollination between the two. But if that is their goal, they need to kind of open up the scheduling where they're not going to be limiting, for example, Game Changers players from being able to trial, which I believe it was, I mean, who was it? Was it Sean?
Sean went
talking
on a
about
rant about it on stream
Yeah.
because he's just moved into a GM position. He wanted to give Florescent a trial for MXS and wasn't able to because the calendar just didn't match
Because
up.
scheduling-
I mean,
and I remember at the beginning of the
obviously
year,
we're going to
like-
talk about why that's not as important, that specific example, but like,
Yeah.
the general point is still
But
absolutely
the
true.
general point of as well, like at the beginning of the year, they can't play in challenges, or if they do play in challenges, their VODs have already been live from Game Changers prior, like 2 weeks prior. This is happening at the beginning of the year. And so everybody had preparation on all of their setups, and they can go as far in tier 2 if they did want to prove themselves and actually qualify for challenges in that fashion. So Riot needs to take a good look at the whole system and understand what their goals are with Game Changers. It can't just be a PR stunt that you're funding for goodwill from the population. It actually needs to be what you're setting out for goal-wise, which is making sure you have that cross-pollination, a safe space for people to compete in, and eventually have them competing in Tier 1 in the VCT system as well, which it is getting there. It's kind of doing the job a little bit, but I think they need to do more for that with the scheduling. And kind of just to add on to the point about the extra international event, I think that we've already seen like that regional development in VCT even prior when Zeta went on the Reykjavik run. And it was just cool to see it almost happen again, I guess, you know, with Zeta getting their win and feeling like there was a chance of them going a run. But the opportunities for Game Changers teams to actually get that experience of playing against much better teams and going to other regions is severely limited by the fact that there's only one international event every year. You don't get the same like big level up in terms of understanding and play from those teams playing against better opponents in Game Changers as often at all throughout the year. So I want to see more of that personally. If it even, but I know what I'm asking for there is two things that they counteract each other, right? It's like I can't really ask for a more open schedule and also one more international event for Game Changers, but in a perfect world, it would be ideal, I think.
Yeah, I think this year, at the beginning, they were trying to make it so that Game Changers teams could go into challengers, and like try to play challengers. But I feel like a situation that didn't really happen is when a Game Changers players want to do a tryout for challengers, or when a Game Changers players want to go to the tier 1, kind of skipping the tier 2. I think those are the things that were not considered because there's always something going on with Valorant. I think what I've been saying is that I would really like a Masters event for Game Changers. Like you're saying, Brent, we have like the competition is really good. The competition is getting better, but also there's teams like, for example, them saying that the 3 spots or the 4 spots that we have in Americas, it counts for 2 North America, 1 Latin America, and 1 Brazil. But Latin America and Brazil, they never play against each other. Brazil and NA never play against each other. Latin America and NA never play against each other. So you never really know what the level is like until you're going into the end of the year. That's, I mean, what has always happened. The crew team has always been undefeated. You're like, this team is looking good, but how do they match against everybody else? I don't know because I've never seen them. They never had the chance to do so. And I think a lot of those teams like Zeta, like even MiBR Liquid, if they had the chance to do so, crew, if they had the chance to play one more international, you would have seen the growth that they had leading up to the championship at the end of the year.
I think Riot's in a difficult position with those kind of things, though, as well, because the incentive structures already persuade people to stay in Game Changers longer than they might otherwise want to, because they have higher viewership, higher salaries, more stability in that system as well. And the more that you add into Game Changers, if you add another international event and you add more eyeballs to the scene and you draw in more sponsors and you make the salaries larger, then that all actually counterintuitively works against what they're trying to promote, which is trying to allow people to go into the tier 2 scene. But I think something that people get backwards there is that even though what I've just said is true, that doesn't mean that you should start making Game Changers smaller and smaller and smaller to kind of like squeeze them out into the tier 2 scene. What I think it should mean is that Riot incentivizes tier 2 teams to pick up top Game Changers players via some kind of financial incentive for taking the risk on those players. Because I think that level of incentive is actually required, because the tier 2 scene is not as large as the Game Changers scene in terms of its ability to like to be in a spot where you're not competing for the very, very top spot of going into Ascension. So I think some level of financial incentive is probably required for tier 2 teams from Riot to go and take the risk. And hopefully that would pay off and they would see that there is a return on investment and it wouldn't be as required in the future. But the two aims that you were talking about, Bren, one of which being to create this like, safe space, and the other being to create a bridge forwards into VCT. I think part of that first one as well, though, is also to create more like eyeballs on the product and incentivize more people to actually participate in the first place, right? And I think that's one of the things that they've done exceptionally well with the way that Game Changers currently runs, because Esports Charts was reporting that there were 465, if you want to round up, K viewers for the peak viewers for Shopify Rebellion against MiBR. So it's working as a viewership product. It's getting more people interested and that kind of stuff. And now as well, we actually have an example of somebody making the jump from Game Changers over into tier 1, not just tier 2, like some other players have, limited amount of players have done before. I would like to get on to talking about Florescent going to Apeks, this most recent report, because this was a true Antonio Gomez bomb when he just dropped it at like 5 a.m. or something. I don't think many people saw this coming.
No.
To Apeks, no. Not a chance. I think everybody always says Floor is really good. She needs to go to tier 1. That's something that we've been saying since last year. But Apeks, I think I would have named every single team before going to Apeks.
Yeah, we had to, because it was just like, the most obvious one was like the rumors with EG, right? Because I guess they were talking about changing duelists. So then everyone was like, yeah, floor to EG makes sense. I think this is a smart move from Apeks. If we're just thinking org move and you're looking at teams in 2027 are like rejigging who they have as the partnership teams, this is a smart move. And like for a team that is in Ascension that can potentially go down, they kind of didn't know what duelist to pick up. This is a very business move. This is very, very smart. And it's awesome that she's going to have this opportunity as well. And I'm excited because mechanically, like the mechanics are there. It's going to be interesting though, like against tier 1, because she does overheat a good amount, but you also can kind of see like the discipline levels are there. So like she knows sometimes when she shouldn't be pushing, and then she'll actually like pull back. So it's going to be hard for her to like find the right level. But yeah, overall, I think this move is awesome, and it's like this was the whole point of it, right? And we finally get to the amount of people that ask, like, is she good enough? We finally get to see the answer. So
I think
I'm excited.
I'm a little bit concerned though, because one of the things we were just talking about in high regard for like Shopify was the idea that the support of util was so good. And in my mind, like behind every single good duelist player, like there's no doubt in my mind that Florescent is like the GOAT in terms of her mechanics and everything else. You can just see that in terms of just clips, not just in VCT, but also when she's playing ranked. But supportive util is like a big element as to how she can take over a game. And when you're coming into a new team system, it's that you're going backwards with the development of your team system and that support. You have to learn all these little intricacies and how you're going to work together again. And so I don't know. I just worry about the general. I think Florescent's going to be under a lot of scrutiny because a lot of people are going to be using her as almost like the litmus test, and transphobes are going to be using potentially like her bad performances as an excuse as well, just to be even more outspoken, which is already a problem in Valorant. I'm just concerned that because all eyes are on it as like the big moment, the big watershed moment, that it just will invite a lot of, I don't know, criticism that wouldn't normally be applied to a pickup of a duelist player on Apeks, outside of the fact if they weren't from Game Changers, if it wasn't Florescent.
Yeah,
Does that make sense?
that's absolutely. I mean, that's how you can tell, by the way, that like if you're wondering whether the way that you're thinking or the way that other people are acting about something is based on some kind of like systemic sexism or something, would you be asking the same questions if Apeks had just picked up someone random from ranked? And if instead you're more incentivized to like criticize because it's somebody from Game Changers, yeah, probably look in a mirror. But I do think that this Apeks team, we don't even know who the 5th player is. Like, that's not even been reported so far. So that's probably going to be one of the people that's in the like setup role with that utility, because it's going to be the person presumably replacing Soulcast, unless Florescent herself is going to be playing the flex role, which would be pretty unlikely.
Isn't that something that Effie said, that Florescent, she's down to play anything?
Yeah.
I want her to play Duelist, please. I want her to play Duelist so bad. She's so good. I mean, I don't know what the team is going to do. I think for Apeks, though, if they're able to do this right, this is an amazing opportunity for them, because you have an amazing player that people really love, people are going to be supporting, and then if you're able to give that support in game and outside of the game, like promoting, like, not only did we get this Game Changers player and she's amazing, but we're having success with her in this way. If we're able to do that, Apeks is going to be, I mean, everybody's going to have their eyes on what they're going to do. I just hope that is the case. And I think one of the things is, like, she is insane mechanically, and she's also been playing Duelist, and she's such a good Duelist. I want to see her more in Duelist. I mean, I don't know what they're going to do, but I think that's the obvious thing that everybody wants to see. And that's also setting her up for success as she's going to tier 1 for the first time.
Yeah, I do agree with that. I also think, though, that if we had done some kind of like, if we had done our way too early tier list before this had been released, and we had just said, like, Apeks, they're going to pick up 2 people. We're not going to say exactly who. We'll just say 2 average level players. We would definitely all be putting Apeks fairly low in the tier list, I would imagine. Just because they got picked to pieces a little bit. Soulcast left. Kayak got signed to Fnatic as well. I mean, Soulcast got signed too. But they both ended up going to different teams, and this roster doesn't really look like it's going to be a big hitter within EMEA. So it is going to be tough, and it's going to be a big adjustment. Florescent is going to be playing against better players than she was in Game Changers. Even if Florescent's aim is top tier, the general level of gameplay is going to be higher at the tier 1 level. We know that. We've seen that play out. So she's not going to be able to run over people in the same kind of way. And she also probably isn't going to have as good like setup and team support at the beginning of the season with a new team, even if they are a tier 1 team. Because the comparison right now is like absolute peak Shopify Rebellion, who are grinding 80 hours a week to get to this pinnacle just when they needed to be able to win the tournament. You can't, like, the tier 1 team of Apeks is not going to have that leading into the league. Maybe they have that by like playoffs at the end of the year or something, but we should expect there to be a drop-off just naturally. Yeah. And that means there's going to be a big learning curve as well that hopefully improves Florescent rather than like ruins her confidence or something. But it's going to be tough. It really is.
Yeah, I think it's like when you look at all the other duelists that you'll be up against as well, it's going to be really tough. I agree with everything you said. But it's just an awesome test. It's like it's like when we said about like the like FNS coming back and stuff like that, where you're like you think in your mind you can do it, but then you have to prove, like, you actually have to go out there and prove it. Like, this is the time to prove it. Let's see. Yeah, I'm a little bit skeptical because it's just like the skill. I agree. Like we shouldn't be around the bush. Like, the skill difference is giant. Like, so it is going to be a big learning curve for sure.
Do we know whether Florescent was trialing for Apeks while she was in Berlin? Is that why Florescent has gravitated towards I mean, obviously, Apeks, there aren't that many teams that Florescent could have joined anyway, because there aren't that many teams that are like looking for a duelist or even looking for an extra player at this point in the season. But is it like, because we were talking about CNED potentially going over towards Apeks as the duelist. Has she outperformed CNED in trials? Is there any reports of that kind of stuff? Or is it a bit of like we know how good you are, we'll just go for it?
Yeah, I think it might just be right place, right time, because they were definitely had rumors with CNED. So, and then I think she came to Berlin early to do trials, from what I can
People
tell.
in my chat yesterday were telling me that she performed one of the best in the trials, but I don't know where they got that info from. So, source potentially made up.
There are so many
But-
people are willing to just say things in the Valorant scene, and if on God, if all you did was just attach a source afterwards that people could go and look up, people would believe you. But like the lack of source of like, nah, she didn't do trials. Oh yeah, she performed really well in trials. Like people just say anything. It's in the report in the article. Wait.
Oh.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
Basic
Court
media
didn't read the
literacy
article?
check.
Wait, Court didn't
Are
read
we
the article?
stupid? No. Oh,
I've been told
among the
wait,
best
I've been
players in
told
the
from my
organization's trials.
sources-
There it is.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
Okay,
real.
PogChamp, we found the source, and now validation for all the people who are saying it. So yeah, that's pretty impressive just in and of itself, right? Because the big question that people were asking before all of this was like, you know, are these players good enough? Not even just Florescent, but Florescent gets majority of the kind of focus because she's the best player in the Game Changers circuit. But are these players good enough to be able to step up to tier 1? I mean, the best way of trying to figure that stuff out without actually throwing them into tier 1 is by trialing them.
Yeah.
It's already a great sign.
Yeah. It is exciting though. As much as I was throwing up all of my worries, I don't know. It's exciting. I think that there's no denying her talent. So it'll be, I don't know. Just excited to see her compete against, like in the tier 1 level, against really the top players in VCT, because she was already. There's only so much you can improve if you are just kind of shitting on everybody. You know what I mean? Like if you are the best in your field, and that's where you're getting a majority of your practice from in officials, there's only so much you can improve. So the best way to improve is to learn, is to be pressured and tested by much better players. So
Yeah.
I'm excited.
I agree, and it opens the doorways like more, and it also just like inspires other people as well. And like the whole game changer system is working. Like the level
Yeah.
is getting better and better and better every single year. It's working.
Yeah.
But Brazil, can you get 2 slots, please? Anything that I want to say.
Please.
Okay, let's move on though to talking about one of the teams that you said a lot of people were assuming Florescent was going to be linked to, which is EG. And the reason was because we knew that they were thinking about making some changes. They had called it a temporary roster for reasons that we weren't exactly sure about, stuff behind the scenes. Potter had said that she wanted the roster with Sim to continue, and yet the reports are now coming out from Purist, I believe. Yeah, that Evil Geniuses are going to be going with Icy as one, one of the forefront players instead. And here Purist says, for any audio listeners, to provide some extra context, after the Sen Invitational, where my context, Sim performed incredibly poorly, EG decided not to continue with Sim. Now, the phrasing of that makes it sound like it was based on the performance, but also just like, that sentence still makes sense if it was nothing to do with the performance and they just made the decision later on down the line. But I assume there was some level of consequence to the fact that Sim had such bad games.
Yeah, I think it might be that. It could be also something to do with like, because didn't she say on the interview that it was like, this is the team I want, but there's still like certain things that haven't been sorted. So maybe it was like it was a high buyout, and it's like we need to warrant this player being so good to have a high buyout. Again, I don't know anything, but that's kind of that's what it spelled out to me. And then I think when you have that kind of a bad event, and again that can happen, I'm not saying that like defines him as a player. I think that if it's a high buyout, it's hard to warrant it when I mean it was a shocker of an event. So I think this makes the most sense. Icy's proven at a high level, can work in a system. We've got really high fragging potential on EG. I think this is a good move.
I mess with it. I really like this just Icy joining EG, because he got a lot of hate just purely, I think, based off the fact that the G2 was so boring to watch.
Yeah.
And then people just kind of like attributed it. But like if you watched him as a duelist, and it's like people are so dumb. They will just like, if you don't drop 20 to 30 kills per map as a duelist, they're just like, they're awful. But dude, there are so many qualities that Icy has that I know that most coaches would be like frothing at the mouth to have him as their duelist player. And it's because he's tethered and plays at the pace of which his team is ready to support him with util. Like there's so many duelist players that are obviously they're cracked. You know, they're super confident to be able to lean into their aim, but they end up just getting ahead of most of their team, and they're not ready to be supported either with util or traded out with players. But Icy was very disciplined. I thought he had a lot of discipline, probably because of G2 as a system, and I think that at times that hampered him. Like he held himself back, and so he didn't have those big moments. But he was almost exactly what you'd want out of a team player. Especially from your duelist. So I think him joining EG, I definitely think he was mad underrated, just in general over the course of the year. So I think that's probably been spotted as well. And EG should hopefully be a good home for him this year. I love the idea of just EG picking up, I don't know, just like players that have almost something to prove, I guess. Not that Icy really does have something to prove, but it's just this. It's become this team where, I don't know, Potter's got a good eye for talent. I think you can tell that. So yeah, I like this kind of era that EG's going through.
That's not something that any coach is able to do. So I feel like it kind of fits really well into what Potter wants to do with her team and Evil Geniuses and what we've seen for Evil Geniuses in the past few years. Like, sure, even if this year Evil Geniuses they could make it to champs or not. I mean, you do see the growth of these players that you might not know much of before, and you see the growth that they've been having. They're keeping up with like some of the best that we've known for so long. I think Icy is he got a lot of hate. G2 also, again, like a very strategic, slow team, so people were not having fun. But even towards the end, Icy was doing so good. Like he was doing, and he was actually doing this crazy performances of like 25, 30 kills sometimes, going crazy with the raise. So you see the balance that he has. Like he can be that playing for the team player as a duelist, but he can also be fragging out, and that's something that we've seen a little bit in G2. He got the chance to do so a few times, but I think with Potter and with Evil Geniuses, if that's the case, he's going to be able to do a lot more. So I think they're really cool pieces that Evil Geniuses has now that are going to be very interesting to watch.
Yeah, I think kind of nailed it. 'Cause it felt like when I was watching him, it was like a warm-up period that is just like slowly getting better and better and better. So it's like the no pressure of EG, because there's no pressure in this org. Let's be fully honest. Like no one's expecting him to get top 4, go to any of these events. This is a no pressure team that you can just perform off. So there's none of that expectations of like G2 again. And then all of that like experience and maybe like the kind of trying to find like your level as a duelist of like how much you can send it, and the fact that you can actually play in front of these people on the stage to how you want to. Like all of that's been done. He kind of knows what he can deliver, and I think he can just go straight in. And I don't know, there's a lot of like doubters out there, I think, because of how he performed in G2. So it is like Brent's saying, it is a team of a team that could be hungry to prove themselves.
It's very funny too, actually, to consider Icy and Jorg, because Jorg was playing on the main team while Icy was on the reserve roster for EG, and then they've both gone over to G2, and then they've now Icy's come back to EG as well. But they play very differently too. At least from what we've seen of them playing in Tier 1, they play very, very differently. So like we're looking over towards G2 thinking, how are they going to deal with Jorgamo's sometimes reckless play style with such a tight system? Are the rest of them going to loosen up to allow Jorgamo to play his like opportunistic style? And then for EG, I think it's an opportunity for Icy to shrug off some of the more structured gameplay. Obviously, EG are still going to play tight and together, but I find it difficult to believe they're going to play as tight as Valin and Josh RT wanted everybody to play on G2, where it was like fucking a military drill happening every time you got into the round. So I think there's an opportunity for a little more self-expression here, perhaps, for Icy that he might really enjoy. And we may end up looking back at the end of this year and thinking, actually, maybe Icy was restricted playing on G2 because he didn't have the, if you're a tier 2 player coming into a tier 1 system, you don't necessarily have the like weight to be able to say, I'm gonna fuck with your plan a little bit here. I'm gonna I know you want me to play this perfectly, but I'm gonna break a couple of rules and bend them here or there just because I know better. And the best duelists will do that. And Jorgamo is fucking gonna do that this year. So I'm wondering if this could be a good opportunity for Icy to do something similar on a team that has things less completely drilled out. Let's talk Sentinels. Sentinels just recently, in fact, I think this happened today or like at some point in the last 24 hours, have signed reduxx to a 2027 contract. So reduxx was always going to be part of their like academy team, but he's now on a, in the VCT database 2027 contract. So clearly looking at some point to try to integrate him into the team, maybe give him some opportunities to rotate a little bit. Who knows?
Yeah, I love this, by the way. I've been watching reduxx and challengers play for so long, and I think every single time I'm like, can we talk about reduxx? This guy is insane. Obviously, we already got the chance to see it a little bit, but I think this is smart because there's only a few players in challengers that you're like, this guy really stands out. Like, there's a lot of players that are good, that have potential, but it's like, who's gonna get this guy, and whoever gets this guy, that's gonna be a great team. And reduxx has always been maybe my number one, number two for challenges. So I like that they're securing him right now. They're getting him right now, and he's gonna, I think, even the time where he's not gonna be able to play towards the beginning, just the fact that he's already in Sentinels and he even has that pressure. Once he gets the chance to play, and even for 2027, I think this is so smart for Sentinel.
Yeah, I like the signing. Dude, he's just a talent. You watch him play, and you can tell he's gone to like I call it the school of Bonkar, where he's just been under just the coaching of Bonkar for so long. And you're just seeing how disciplined he is into so many situations where it's like, you can just tell it, man advantage. You've got the man advantage, and Bonker's probably just shouted at them, or if they've ever done anything wrong of giving up kills. So as soon as they get that fast pick, and like there's even just a slight hint that they might overheat, he just like super chills back. So I think from what I'm seeing, mechanical skill and just like good fundamentals at the moment, he's a really good player, and I think this is a great signing. If I'm Zelsis, I'm worried, man. Straight up, I am definitely worried because maybe he's happy that like stuns got buffed and stuff, but like dude, this guy's really really good, and I think this is just a great signing. And yeah, he's dude, he's still got a couple of things to learn, but he's still really really good.
It is interesting thinking about Sen because the players that they had that were like the faces of the game kind of level, people like Tens or people like Sassy too, they've ended up retiring. Maybe they're prepping for the next wave of top tier talent, like the big names to retire as well. Because that's going to happen. Like the older players are going to at some point decide that they're not as interested in going fucking 80 hours a week practicing for every Masters event. But Zelsis does add something very different to the team. It's not like you're just trying to replace his in-game talent. You're also trying to replace his leadership, which I know that John's the IGL, but it's not actually the same kind of leadership at all. So I think that's a really interesting interpersonal challenge for Kaplan to deal with if he's thinking about making a long-term change to the roster.
Yeah, making sure that because it is an important element. Like sometimes you're just getting, I don't know, you'll get shit on and the comms will get quieter than usual, and you can't help but ignore, like you can't help but pick it up. You know what I mean? Like the ideas are running short or running out in a match, and you sometimes need somebody to pick up the morale just to even get the confidence back. But yeah, I don't know. Zelsis will be fine even after his pro player career because the man's been working on his marketing skills. I mean, he's
sure.
just
Yeah.
He's been farming content on the side. So I think he's been setting up for this for quite a while. But it is an interesting point that you make about like the development of this team because I think the whole is already kind of, I don't know. With Zelsis gone, I don't know what the vibes would be like of the team internally because it's not. I can't see Narrate as the kind of player that's going to be picking up vibes.
I agree, and I don't think it's like a straight call out to Zelsis as much as I pretty much did. I do think it's like nice to have like a sixth player that everyone knows is cracked, so it's like you don't get comfortable, like you're grinding still, like you don't feel super secure in your job because you know that someone could replace you easily that can do a better job if you are kind of underperforming or maybe not putting 100% effort in. So I just like the fact that he can be there, and also like you can just learn, you can just like watch part of the team learn how they do it, and then they can kind of have him as an option. I'm not saying they're 100% going to use him. And you kind of don't want to... and they kind of said that he's allowed to play on a team, right? Whether it's some kind of Sentinels Academy or anything. So they're not like clipping his wings. They're making sure that he can actually play and learn before he turns 18 as well. So
He's
it
also
seems
going
like
to
a
have
no-brainer.
I mean, it depends on what they're gonna have him play as well. I mean, in challengers we've known him for this like insane duelist performance, and I know recently, and when he was playing with Sentinels for that one tournament, he was playing other things. But I think that also is gonna play a part. I mean, everybody, I know, like bringing up Celsius, but it kind of can be anybody in the way that it plays out. And I don't know when he's gonna be able to play. I think it's kind of in the middle of this year or so. So I mean, they might make a change there. And the question is reduxx gonna be prepared to play anything? Is he trying to learn anything? I don't know if he said it. I don't know if he's trying to learn every single role, a specific one that he has an idea that he might jump into when he has a chance.
I'm not sure. I mean, I spoke to him at the Ludwig Tiger event, and he said that he just wants to play as much as possible in the interim before he can eventually play on Sentinels, because he just wants to be up to scratch. But I think it's a lot can change between then and now. Like, I don't know if Sentinels would even want to use reduxx when he's available. They've signed him to a 2027 contract, but if you're building up your team and you're prepping with your core as of right now, if you're making a change midway through the season, something's gone wrong.
Oh, you would
Yeah.
never go into the year with the intention of doing it. It's just the option. That's
Yeah.
all it is. It's just options. And 2027 just kind of means it's a thing for next year. And they kind of like no one has to worry. And then if they can't sign people or like they get too expensive or like maybe it's not clicking, then they have the option of a great up and coming player.
Yeah, if they need to make a decision, then he's always there. But I think in that sense, he needs to be ready. And I'm saying that because, I mean, that was a case for MTA when he was a 6th player for crew. Like, he was a duelist player, really good in challenges. You don't know what he's going to do when he gets to tier 1 and when he's going to be playing with crew. He has to, but he's pretty much forced to learn or like try to learn every single role or be prepared for any situation where it's like it's not like you're planning to to switch in the middle of the season, but if something happens, do you have somebody that is able to play that role that you need right there and then, or do you not?
It's really interesting from like a macro point of view with Sentinels too, that they seem to be buying the dip in esports. Like they really seem to be investing in their team, really investing in their brand, making a name for themselves as like the org that's going to support your players. Like it's where you want to be in Valorant. It's like all of this stuff. Meanwhile, everyone else is tightening their purses, and Rob Moore's just squeezing every penny out of his sushi, like investor, in order to get into an incredible place if the scene, bounces back at some point. It's very interesting in that sense. Now, a team that is certainly in the dip, but looks like they're in the bounce back is MiBR, right? Ever since aspas was unable to join Bleed, MiBR have found themselves in the prime position to make good on the best Brazilian player, one of the best in the entire world, arguably the greatest of all time, dropped straight into their laps. And Vspace, who the website that's been doing a lot of reporting on stuff happening within the Latin and Brazilian scene, have reported that the MiBR roster is set. This is something that's been kind of rumored for a while, but we've just never taken the time to talk about on Plat Chat. So I wanted to put it here before we do our like way too early tier list, because I think MiBR's changes from what they were planning to do originally, which was keep the majority of the roster, to what they're now doing, which is forming it around aspas a lot, is going to shake up the Americas tier system quite considerably.
Yeah, I'm excited for this. I mean, I think I said on a prior episode, was it rumored but not like actually reported?
I think so, yeah. It's been
Our
rumored.
link
It's only
is
rumored.
what we already covered at the beginning of the month, I believe.
Yeah, it's only rumored at the moment. Nothing's official.
Right, but yeah, it's exciting for me because I think a lot of players would love the opportunity to play with a player like aspas. Yeah, it's a hell of a firepower upgrade as well. Like it definitely bumps them up a little bit as well. But it's all about I don't know. I think aspas is a particular player in terms of what he wants out of a team, and like he is such a percentage player as well in terms of how he plays, where he's always trying to make the most like optimal and perhaps safe move, which is again not going to go on the tirade again. I feel like I don't know. I feel like I put my foot in my mouth every time I talk about aspas. But he's I don't know. He's one of those players that you would happily build around, but he's so particular about how he wants to play as well that I don't know. No doubt in my mind, I think the team's going to be putting together wins. But are they just slotting him into the old MiBR roster?
No. So they picked up.
elsewhere. Yeah.
Yeah. No, go for it. Go for it.
Those are the other tier 2
Oh.
players that I don't know.
Oh,
So
right,
that's
yeah.
why I stopped.
Oh no, they've also got Xenom and Cortesia in there as well. So these are
Yeah.
players that people probably won't be as familiar with, but they've been kind of tearing it up. I think they've both been playing a lot of smokes recently. Now I could be wrong with that because again, I'm not super familiar with the both, but yeah, I think they've both been playing smokes recently in the tier 2 scene, but they've been kind of demolishing. They look nasty, and I believe these are a couple of the players that Aspas was like, I want to play with these guys. So when they moved away from the previous MiBR roster, they originally they were intending on keeping the majority of those former players, and now they've only kept a single one. And Ardazine is good. Like Ardazine, I was pretty impressed with last year. I thought he was a solid player. But you get like Aspas back with Nozwa, who he wanted to play with at the start of Leviathan, and then you get two like cracked up and coming players, Xenom and Cortesia, who Aspas has like specially tried to like pick out.
I think that's
as being up and comers, like
that's a good sign.
like whoa,
That's a
hot
great
damn,
sign.
it's exciting.
Yeah.
And then you put Fraud in there as well, like proven coach that's worked with him before. Like it's this is a scary team. This is the best Brazilian team, or at least in my eyes. And again, it's one of those teams where you're like, if these tier 2 players, again, we never kind of know about the tier 2 players really, but like if they're kind of looking at the stats and they can perform. Not saying they're going to perform as well as like Verno or Mada did, but if they can kind of start like looking like this and the early signs, it's another team that can be fighting for the top for sure.
I think this year is gonna be. Oh wait, go ahead.
I was just going to say having like Aspas confident in like an actual team that he's built and actually got people around him so he can feel good, because it doesn't feel like he's ever like super happy at the end of his teams. I guess it's always like I want to move teams or like something's not wrong. So having him in a team where he's got to choose everything, like that could be pretty scary. Actually having him happy.
We can blame him if it doesn't work now.
Yeah, one of them. Yeah, but I think that's a scary sign. And yeah, if we're just looking at like pure numbers of this team, this is the best Brazilian team that's getting formed right now.
I think this is it's really interesting because we've seen Aspas like 3 different versions. So the one that was lifting the Champions Trophy in like 2022, the one that got top 3. Like if you think about it, he's always made it really far, and we always talk about Aspas. We know how good he is, but this is, I feel like, the biggest test that he's gonna have in his career, if he's able to build a team around him of players that, I know he knows Nosware, but I don't know how familiar he is with the other players. But build this team around him and make it work and make it international. They look good, but making it to champions, making it to the first 2 masters that we're gonna have, I feel like that's a lot to ask for right now, looking at how all the other teams are looking. So I feel like this is a test for Aspas, and if he's gonna do it, he continues to be just one of the GOATs for Valorant. It's not easy to do. Even having Nosware that is so experienced and that they know each other, they played each other before. Even like coming with inexperienced players, and you always have to take into account like it's players that if you put on the side the fact that they're tier 2 and that we might not know how good they are. For Brazilians, for Latin Americans, it's always a struggle to move, and you don't know how you're gonna adapt on the stage. You don't know how hard it is to live your family, and those things in the past for Brazil, for Latin America, they've always played a part in what we see in the success. So it's a big test for the team, and I kind of want to see what they do. I don't know. I feel like I kind of put them in the middle just because I have a lot of questions.
Yeah, I do think though this is the best case scenario for Aspas. I think if he went to bleed as was intended, and that world worked out, I think his potential would have been wasted.
Yeah, it's the retirement.
Not even like I think he would have just been there to get it back and get out, and he would have been checked out like he has been on some teams in the past. I think
Actually
just from
crying
his
himself to
attitude.
sleep with the 100 bill notes. Oh no, I didn't make it to champ.
Just all the potential money laundered money that went through him. Anyway, it's
allegedly.
Please don't sue me. This is a good. I don't know. I really like this because I've been quite concerned for a while of how like North America focused the Americas League is, and how much that's, I think, in the future going to hamper talent development in Brazil and LATAM. And so the fact that
It's already happening.
it is already happening, and it's been happening for a while, and I think it's just going to get worse over time unless something gets done about it. But at least Aspas coming back to this team, actually, picking players that he wants, that he knows that are good, and actually having that direction it's exciting because you get that injection of talent that's been so promising as well in tier 2, and they get to play on the big stage with him. So I think this is the best case scenario. Yeah.
Funnily enough, talking about Bleed, the team that replaced them, Boom, is playing against Global Esports in like 15 hours. So we've got a chance to check in with all the India fans next week when we come back, along with, you know, Red Bull Homeground, Valorant Radiant Asia, which is like EDG, Trace, PaperX. This is what Sliggy was talking about at the beginning. There's actually an insane amount of content coming in, like over the course of Game Changers Championship, and then all of this stuff coming up. It's kind of ridiculous, the amount of games that we could potentially be looking to recap in the offseason. Is it just me, or does it feel like the first proper offseason?
Yeah. No, it does. It's hardly been. You get like a week, maybe. Like sometimes there's 2 weeks where it's like a couple of games that aren't too crazy. But then at the moment now, it's like absolutely stacked. There's like 3 weeks off the champs, right? It's like 3 weeks off the champs. It was chill.
I'm fine with that.
It's kind of been manners. Oh, dude, it's good. There's so many events. There are so many events. It's by far the best off season. Actually looks really, really good.
Yeah, I'm excited for its Spotlight. I think that's a cool tournament. It's sick, and I'm glad that now I think they're doing it in North America, maybe Pacific after. So the NA one, we should have this tournament every year.
Explain this. So I can't remember the concept of it. So they're like blending the teams together. So it's like the Game Changers team and the VCT team are getting blended together.
Yeah.
So I watched some of the EMEA one. I didn't realize they were doing it in every region.
I know. Well, NA is doing it in like 2 weeks. But it's kind of, so we have G2, which is, I mean, including the G2 goes in players from EMEA, MiBR that has the Game Changers and the VCT team. Then you have Lev, but Lev is merging with FlyQuest, so FlyQuest and Lev, and then Cloud9 and Shopify Rebellion. So it's a mix of having a couple of the players from VCT, a couple of the players from Game Changers, and then they're playing in the same team together. It's really cool. I mean, what G2 was doing in the voice comms and everything, just listening to the G2 goes in and the G2 players playing the same team and playing that tournament was really cool. So I'm excited for this one.
Yeah, you get to see. So Alexis and Moose, they're a couple, right? They're gonna be playing together.
Yeah.
And then you got Emmy and Effie's as well. They're a they're a long couple that hasn't seen each other for a while as well, because they used to be back on V1. So that's pretty cool. So it looks pretty cool, dude. I had a rumor about this, and I don't know if I'm just getting one guide from my chat, but someone said that at the end of this event, they're gonna announce like the draw for Americas. Am I just spreading the rumor more?
You mean for like the bracket at the very beginning?
Dude. This could I'm definitely getting one guide, but that's what someone said, and I didn't see it announced anywhere.
I mean, worst case scenario, you're just getting more people to tune into a tournament. So like,
yeah, true.
Just spread the lies, spread the misinformation.
Yeah, spread the misinformation.
That's interesting. In the EMEA one, the top 16 rated players were not Game Changers players. So I'm looking for the Americas Game Changers players to step up. I want them to be penetrating those top spots. Although we don't have Florescent playing, right? I don't believe she's in the team for the Shopify Rebellion X.
I don't think they've announced who's going to be playing.
Oh, I thought they. Maybe I've been getting one guide again by people in the like.
I don't know.
Getting wrecked. I think I do. I don't know. I don't know if it's like the video tells us or not. But.
Okay. Right. Let's move on to our final segment then, which is the Wyatt's Weekly Award.
And with this weapon, I shall smite my. Oh, hello. Yeah, it's just me. It's the Guard's Very Good Gamer Award.
Dude, there we go. There's a plug for an organization that's gone the way of the dodo. Yeah, listen, if you're an organization out there that's looking to do some insane branding, then look what we did for the Guard. We killed them.
Yep. They died shortly after that.
Okay. Wyatt's Weekly Award. Now, Kurt has selected. Kurt's been on a rampage today, by the way. I don't know whether anyone spotted this earlier, but in the chat, little fan from India, I assume, popped up saying, when are they going to talk about global esports? Kurt said in the chat, when they make it to a global event. So just fucking blew him away. And Kurt's pulled out another banger here for the Wyatt's Weekly Award. He's got, this blew up on Reddit as well. I saw this. It was a signing from Tyloo. This is a player that they've been playing with recently. and it popped up. 5 centimeter has been added to Tyloo Gaming. And of course, everybody was very sensible about this. No one was making any lewd jokes about it in any way. Nothing to do with length. There's nothing in that. Now, also, remember, Manscaped is the sponsor here. So if you want to go, it's 50% off using the code. So you can go back and have a look at that. But 5 centimeter has joined Tyloo. Now, Tyloo, if you could get the fuck on with announcing everybody else, because I don't know who the hell else is on your roster. It's like 9body, Core, Slowly, but I don't even know who the 5th is, and you've been making a mess with the announcements. So if you could get on with that, that'd be great. But for now,
We're giving it the 5 centimeter.
5 centimeter, because I can't beat it.
Yep. Perfectly
Tyloo
adequate.
has this guy. I remember this guy.
You got HFMI 0DZJZ.
Yeah, but I'm actually not sure they're on.
JC9Z7.
I don't know if he's on the team for next year because he hasn't been playing with them recently. If you look at their recent games,
so
they've not been
sad.
using HFMI. So
But
maybe that's
also-
because they use, like, I don't even know, are they using a temporary roster? Because they were playing with their coach. They're playing with Sunshine, who's their coach. So I don't know what's going on with Tyloo. I've been trying to create a spreadsheet of all of the rosters because it was driving me nuts, like trying to remember them all and having to look across 10 different sheep esports articles to try to figure out who the fuck had signed who.
So you're rocket bullets, I see. Yeah, we finally know now. Yeah.
So I've made the spreadsheet, I've lied a bit, I've manipulated and gaslighted, and
Of
now
course.
I'm here to out myself. So yeah, we'll end it with 5 centimeters, I suppose.
Yeah. Perfectly adequate. That's it. That's the episode.
Oh, real quick, we
you
gotta
got
do
more?
it. We gotta do it. We missed an episode last week, and we can't be missing someone getting married. So the real Wyatt's Weekly Award is Calm. We're getting married.
Oh, Com got married. Congratulations. That's very
Dude,
sweet.
shout out to Com.
It's
Yeah.
a good picture.
Yeah. Dude, I played against Com's dad in DM. In
Wait,
TDM.
actually, that's
Really?
awesome.
The other day, yep. Yeah, dude, I was playing against it, and I was like, and he was shitting on me with a stinger. Bro, he's a demon with a stinger in TDM. Doesn't give a fuck about anything else. He's playing Neon, he was owning me. Dude, he was actually owning me. And I was like, real Papa Com? And he was like, yes. And I was like, oh my God.
Real Papa
Dude,
Com.
I'm playing with a celebrity.
I mean,
Yeah.
the idea that there would be a fake Papa Com running around is very funny.
I
Except,
mean, maybe.
except I ran into somebody. I've been playing a lot of NA rank, trying to rank up my account, and I ran into somebody called Elizabeth Marchini, #mommy. And Liz Marchini, who we work with on the Americas broadcast. So I got to the end of it. I have everyone's names turned off. I got to the end, and I was like, oh shit, I was playing with Liz, and I didn't even realize. She must have not been comming the whole game. Sent her a message and was added her as a friend. Sent her a message and was like, yo, what's up? We just played a game together, and she responded, real sideshow? And I thought that's a bit weird, but maybe she's just making a joke about it or something. And so I was like, yeah, what's up? I didn't realize you were playing on like the East Coast servers at this time. And she was like, oh, I'm not the real Liz. I'm just a stan. Delete.
No way.
Yeah.
So whoever you are, if you're out there, stand in for Liz Marchini, by all means, go ahead. But baiting me into adding you as a friend with the name Liz Marchini hash mommy is too far.
Yeah.
Now, Slig fan #queen, that's what I'm all about.
Now we're talking, yeah.
Now we're talking.
There's a couple of them about, surely.
All right, well, thank you all for joining us for Plat Chat Valorant episode 195. Appreciate you subbing in when we killed Achilios, Stan, as well.
Yep.
Yeah, of course. Anytime.
Yeah. All right, well, we'll kill someone next week as well. I've got the feel for it now. I've just kind of got the bloodlust.
And I
So-
disappear every time. So I also, it was Achilles. We can only have one like regional super fan in the podcast.
Yeah.
So, have to be me today. Sorry.
Okay, who's another regional superfan that we can slaughter next time then? We'll get Yinsu on and then we'll kill her.
Oh yes. Wait, I don't want to kill Yinsu. Hold up.
Okay, all right, but you were fine with killing Achilles. What does that say?
No comment. Nothing
All
to say.
right, all right. We should probably end it here. Then we'll cut it off with Dan admitting that she was fine with the death of a colleague. All right, see you later.